Welcome, agents, to strain 90-ETT of the Zero Point Report, the #1 broadcast all about the news surrounding the Secret World IP. Today is Thursday, March 21st, 2024, and I am Ocho, one of the hosts for this evening. With me tonight, we have Two-Ton Waffle.
Help if I was on, actually, not muted, but morning.
hope we have Two-Ton Waffle. And we have Jimmy the Rabbit.
Heyo.
Hey. Say, as usual, my tech has decided to go all over the place tonight.
Gremlins.
Always. Or Windows. I currently blame Windows.
Yeah, that too.
I've got one more thing I want to try. Forgive me. I'm going to try one more thing. But I couldn't do it 7 seconds before this started. I'm going to try now. So if this doesn't work, I apologize. But let's see what happens.
We'll do it live.
We'll do it live. Testing, 1, 2. Am I still here?
Are we really still here?
Are any of us still here, really? Okay. No, my audio
No.
says it's coming through. Nope, it's still
I've
functioning.
left the building.
42.
I'm literally turning off everything that my microphone could possibly be attached to. I'm like, no, stop it. I'm going to try one more thing. Disabling this device will cause it to stop functioning. That's the point, motherfucker. Yeah. Okay. Testing. I'm going to get a little loud. Hey, everybody. Damn it, it's still doing it. Okay.
You're not allowed. You're not allowed to get loud.
I'm literally my device manager, like, turn this off, turn that off, DTS, audio effects, no, gone, get rid of that. Realtek audio, no, get rid of that, the only thing I want, NVIDIA virtual audio device, wave extensible, maybe that's it, I don't know. Anyway, how are you doing? I don't think I'll be able to solve this easily, so I apologize. My mic just thinks I'm too loud.
Yeah,
so
stop being loud. Ocho, come on.
I need to be like, and I need to make this an ASMR sort of situation.
Just whisper. Whisper
Sorry,
sweet
guys.
nothings.
If I'm a little too loud, it yells at me. But welcome. We are here to talk about the Secret World and everything attached to the Secret World, all the news you could think of. We do have a lot of news to get through tonight.
A few bits of news.
A little bit.
I mean, it's only been like a month.
It has been a little while. That's sort of I always find it's like, oh, let's do a show in 2 weeks, and those 2 weeks go by and there's been like nothing. There's like a dearth of news. And then 2 weeks later there's like all the news. Or at least that's what I feel like it is anyway. It's like
yeah, it might just be the time of year.
Especially this time, it was like, it's like, oh, we can have the show, and it's like, but there's almost nothing. There was like almost nothing to talk about. And then 2 weeks later, it's like, now there's everything. We got Dune Awakening, we got new Conan Exiles news, we got Dune Spice Wars even, we got new tabletop stuff, we got tabletop news, we got, of course, the Envoys of Avalon have started. The core rulebook was sent to all the backers, and tonight we're even going to have Brandon from Star Anvil Studios come on when Brandon can make it on. He said he'll be home basically as soon as he can, and then we're going to basically have him on and talk about everything that's going on with the tabletop.
And it's not IKEA tabletop either.
No. What would that even be called? Is that like the Flufferflun?
Bjorg.
The Vierg. So, yes, and of course, starting off with technical issues, because why not?
I mean, what
Yeah,
kind
it's
of
about normal.
yeah? What kind of streamer are you if you don't have any kind of like technical issue?
I think actually that's the problem, is that I haven't streamed. Like, I haven't been streaming, and because I haven't been streaming, I haven't been catching all these audio issues. I feel like if I've been streaming, that I would have had them fixed by now. Oh, here we go. Apps using your microphone. Microsoft 365. Why is that using my...
Cortana.
Microsoft 365.
But everything requires stuff that it doesn't need.
Because I could see Microsoft 365 like, hey, let me use your app. Because right, that would be part of Teams, right?
Yes,
Hola, Scratch.
Hey, Scratch, how are you? I was like, I haven't opened Teams, and it's like, it's using your microphone.
It's like Clippy. It's like, oh, looks like you're wanting to stream.
Yeah. Is that what you're trying to do? Yes. Stop messing with it, please.
Here, let me help you out with this.
I hope not.
What?
Like, I don't even have any of this stuff installed on this computer.
Well, there's your problem.
It's like, you're not using microphone stuff? Wait a minute.
You must download all the microphone stuff.
Let me try doing what I uninstall Microsoft 365. Literally, the only program I use is like Excel 2003 on this machine. All right. Now that's gone. I'm gonna try just another quick test. It's still doing it. It's still.
Nope.
It's still, just get rid of everything. Just burn it all from. Let apps access your microphone. How about everything but... Oh no, it's doing it through Chrome? God damn. It says Microsoft 365 currently in use, and it's got the Chrome icon next to it. Are you kidding me?
Interesting.
That's why it's like, I help fix this stuff for other people, and yet myself, I'm like, what? Why? Just makes you think.
When it's working, you're like, I don't know what I did. I'm not going to touch it.
yeah. Unless it's considering Microsoft 365 as like the program that we're using to talk with. I don't know.
Think so.
I don't know.
No.
Let me turn all of these off. Testing. Snipping tool. Yes, snipping tool has access to my microphone. Why? I don't know.
Guess you want to snip your microphone.
Yeah.
Duh.
Testing. Okay. Testing. Yeah, I'm still there. I don't know, and I might not solve it tonight. Because I feel like I've now turned off everything except says let desktop access your microphone. I have to do that.
Why does your desktop need your microphone?
Like the desktop app, like let Chrome use my microphone. Well, I kind of have to because the thing we're using is through.
No, it's a fool's errand.
Now you must communicate with interpretive dance.
It's like let Discord use my microphone. Yeah, I kind of have to.
No.
That's true. You make it earn that. Don't just let it.
You want to turn it off? See what happens, just for fun.
Sure, why not?
Why not? Why not? We're already this far in. We're already this fucked. All right, ready? Let's see what happens.
Bloop. Ocho, speak to us.
Very funny. I know you're miming on purpose.
Testing. Oh, there it is. Down back.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, it's still here. Testing. Okay. My gosh. Hey, Scratch. I know you came in a while ago, but I'm saying hi to you again.
2 hours later.
5 minutes ago. What are you talking about?
I know.
I think you said hi 5 minutes ago.
I probably did.
I did.
I probably did. But hey. Hi. Hi. Hey, Scratch. All right. So, I'm just going to get into it. If I fluctuate a bit, if it sounds like I am going through puberty, then just assume
As you are.
Just assume I'm going through puberty. That's really all. Just say, yep, Ocho's in puberty again.
Oh, you do go through that midlife puberty crisis, right?
I've heard that actually, that you do go through you can go through a second voice change. And what is it? One of the guys who played, I think it was a guy who played Pippin in Lord of the Rings. He went through a second voice change, so his voice is much, much deeper than it was now than it was in the movies.
Huh. Yeah, my voice is all fucked. That's just because I got punched in the throat when I was a teenager. So.
Well,
my voice is cracked for the last 30 years. That's just because it cracks where I got punched. It permanently damaged my voice box.
All right. So, let's go over some of the news we have. First and foremost, the Envoys of Avalon have returned for the vernal equinox, their 12th visit to Agartha. 12th visit. And their 6th spring. So, this is the 6th spring that we have had the Envoys, the 12th time overall. It's always good to see them. And as usual, the daily logins started on March 17th, and the Envoys arrived just in time for the equinox on the 18th. So, a day disparity between there.
That seems about normal.
That's about normal nowadays, yeah.
I think they're just...
they're automatic.
The auto things are off by a day for some reason.
Yeah,
but
I wonder if that has to do with... What's that?
So at least it's consistent.
Yes, right. Consistently inconsistent.
Well, no, it is consistent. It's consistent. They're not consistent with each other, but no, actually, they are consistent with each other. They're not at the same time, but they are always the same. The automation
not
is
necessarily.
They just set one on one day, and they set one 12 hours later or something.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the leap year probably messed things up too.
I would say, I wonder if the leap year had something to do with it.
They don't adjust things for leap year. Well, no, sorry, not leap year. I was thinking, you said leap year, but I was thinking spring forward. They don't adjust things for the time change.
Yeah. Generally smart idea to just go off of just universal time, usually. Yeah,
but it is weird because I go from the reset, the daily reset's at 2 a.m. and now it's at 3 a.m. or whatever. the difference.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
it is just keep it internally consistent as this is universal time and everything's just based on universal time. Because dealing with that twice a year, like that always was a headache.
You know, people. So you oftentimes see people like kind of take the piss out of people exaggerating, like, oh, time change happened, now you're screwed up for like 2 weeks, or oh my god, right? Like, and get people shit for that kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
But one thing I noticed, like, that honestly did mess up my kids.
Yeah.
Like, significantly.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, because they're just, their body sleep schedule is not lined up with the clock anymore.
Oh yeah.
Like, and it was just taking I think as an adult, like, I have messed up my sleep schedule so many times over the years. You know, like, it doesn't matter. Like, it has almost like 1 hour. I'll do a 30-hour stream and then go to sleep and wake up. Like, it has no bearing on anything, right? It doesn't bother me at all. But for them, yeah, their whole rhythm was off.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. It also might be because they're old. They're just in that stage, like, they're old enough where they're going to school. They've got a schedule. They need to go to sleep at a certain time and get up at a certain time. And now they're just like, no, this is wrong. Body says wake up now, but it's an hour later.
I'll say that it might be an age thing because I know my son hasn't like, it didn't affect him at all. I would say it affected me a little worse, but not like horrifically. Like, it wasn't like, I'm the sort of person to be like over dramatically like, oh my gosh,
I legitimately don't notice. But that is because I stay up to like 2 or 3 a.m. every night anyways. And then on the weekends, I inevitably end up staying up to like 8 a.m. in the morning or some stupid shit and get in trouble with my wife. She's like, you're still up? I'm going to work. What's wrong with you? So, like, my sleep is so all over the place. Like, it literally did not notice at all. Didn't make any difference to how jacked up my sleep schedule is.
I'm glad to hear you at least get a little bit of aggro, because that makes me feel a little bit more normal. When I stay up a little too late and like my wife's like, what are you doing? Like she wakes up because she's a very light sleeper. And so she wakes up in the middle of the night, and sometimes that's when I'm coming up to bed, and she's like, what the hell? I'm like, just whatever. Just
yeah, it's not so much like the late, like, 2, 3 in the morning or something. It's when she's like getting ready to leave for work, because she works at like the bakery or something, and like on a Saturday.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And so she's leaving at like 6:30, 7, and she comes downstairs, and I'm still on the computer. It's like, and then she comes home from work at like noon, and I'm still, I haven't gone to bed. Like, I've been up since Friday morning. It's now Saturday afternoon. It's like, what is wrong with you?
I wondered if she was like, if she would be very like, because sometimes you do like you easily do like really long streams. So, like, I always wondered if it was like how supportive she was over that sort of thing.
What the heck?
That was my cat.
I'm actually pretty supportive in general, and especially of like the charity stream. Especially the Extra Life streams, because those are 30 hours.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's where I have to be like, hey, I need you to help. I'm not going to be available to help with the kid because I'm going to be doing charity thing for 30 hours. So yeah, no, she's really good about that. And anymore, it's more just like she just shakes her head. She's like, and just goes like this. I don't know how you do that.
All right, we got Brennan coming in.
Oh, okay. All right.
I just sent him the link.
We need like graphic effects.
Graphic effects.
Yeah, like coming in hot, and then we just have like an explosion on the screen.
What do you think this is? Some kind of like production?
Some sort of like breaking news little video clip. Breaking
Is it too much to ask, Waffle, that you just be like a little like Michael Bay? A little bit.
Explosions?
Explosions, Transformers,
Get your vis effects going on.
I just want your explosions to have explosions. And then like a Transformer walking away from the explosion without looking, because that's how you do it cool.
You can't look. Never look.
Yeah, you never look back.
You can maybe swing your camera back around. But actual looking? No, it's not.
Yeah,
it's not
the camera can look.
What if you're using a selfie stick?
See, that's fine to me. That works.
Oh, we have a chair and we have a person.
We have a Brandon. Brandon.
Trying to hide all the garbage behind me.
I do that. Yeah.
No, I can only see behind you now.
You don't want to see what's to my left.
There. Oh. Hello, everyone.
Hello. Hold on one second.
Hey, how are you doing, sir?
I'm alive and amazing.
Good.
I am one of those things.
Good to hear. I am going through puberty because my computer has decided to make that so.
I had a paused live broadcast because hearing myself, it was very confusing.
Yeah.
Well, you don't normally converse with yourself on delay?
Wasn't that like... I've heard of that being used as a method to like disrupt crowds or something like that, to take like some sort of like audio receiver and like a microphone or like a I don't know, some sort of giant speaker that goes back, and all it does is just takes what people are yelling and just sort of like sends it back to them with a delay, and that's a way to like get them to shut up. I don't know.
Yeah, it does. It short circuits your brain a little bit.
Yeah.
My brain's always short-circuited, so it's no problem.
Well, especially now, right? Because of how much Secret World stuff that you've been putting out, I'm sure you are at least a little bit fried, right?
Well, getting the book to the finish line was the chore.
Yeah.
That was the hardest part. I mean, it just would... There was issues in the background that we finally got resolved, but...
Okay.
I mean, there's just some personal things that came up for different people on the team. And so it was really tough getting it across the finish line. But then we got everything's in, and like almost everything's right here now. We're waiting on the limited covers to show up so we can approve those. Like, here's the monster cards now. They look pretty good.
Okay.
They turned out really nice. And then
Yeah, no, I'm working on it.
subclass cards.
Waffle's moving around your camera a little bit.
Oh.
So what you're showing up, we don't necessarily see.
Like that, I don't know.
There you go.
Right there. That's good.
Right there. There you go.
There you go.
Perfect.
So that's the the pre-gen card, not the pre-gen, but the subclass cards, and then the monster. Let's see.
Sweet.
So they turned out the quality on the cards. So the drawback to print on demand, which is unfortunately, and I say unfortunately in the sense that we always want to do better, but right now is when essentially when you do print on demand, it's like a giant photocopy machine.
Okay.
So if I move this way, then you can see me there, sort of, maybe.
Yeah.
And so the darkness, like some of the art we've done, we've learned now in the future, we're going to do much brighter art. I mean, cool, dark, moody art's great, except for in print on demand. Some of the pictures are a bit darker than we would like. They're a little bit hard to see, but there's no way to fix that because we were first time making a book and we can't redo all the art to make that fix. There's a couple pictures that I would do different going in the future, much less dark and moody type stuff, because unless we can get to standard print runs, that will always be a little bit tough to show up. But these are things we're learning. It's our first major book. I mean,
yeah,
386 page book is our first real big project. Before that, we did a couple of like 30, 40 page things. So
yeah, that's
and I was
it's a leap.
Factor of 10. Factor of 10.
Yeah.
Let's just multiply that work times 10, And let's take a whole lot of money and have a whole lot of people mad at us if we don't deliver. But other than that, we're fine.
Well, it's also the fact that it's almost 370 pages or whatnot, but it's just so jam packed full of stuff for lore and just everything is in there.
The first 100 pages or so is the lore and characters you can meet and such. Roughly, it's something like that. I don't have the exact page count. And then you have making characters and the rules for that and all that such and how that kind of works out. And then you have all the D&D type rules that we also smashed in there as well. And then so yeah, it's a lot. And then we did a fair amount of monsters too. We actually, I think, put in a few more than we promised overall. Not everything is illustrated because we couldn't do art for everything, but we did a fair amount of art on that. We'd love to do more, but going forward, we'll add more stuff as we go. So
I was looking through the finished, because part of this is that you sent out on March 17th is the date that you sent out to all backers the final core rulebook of the PDF.
Right.
And so if you have that, you can go get it. You can, if you have the link, you put out an FAQ in case you didn't get the link. Like there was an update that you guys posted that said,
there's a problem with somehow, for whatever reason, either it's probably me. Again, this is our first time delivering stuff, so the backer kit, I probably didn't select something correctly that did not deliver to the backer kit backers. I don't know for sure. This weekend when because I do most of my work on the weekends, so everyone who's emailed me is like, give me 2 weeks, because effectively that only gives me 4 days to figure it out, Saturday, Sunday, for 2 different weekends. Because I can't really dig into this at night. Like I get off at 6. It's an hour drive home from work, dinner, shower, whatever, and then I got an hour and a half at night to do whatever I'm doing. So the weekends is when I focus on really getting stuff done. Till we make millions, and this is all I have to do.
I mean, understandable, yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, this is sort of your side project, really.
It is a side project in a sense. I'm trying. Everyone tells me don't get into this if you want to make money. Don't make games if you want to make money. And I don't agree that we can't make money. I'm just not going to get rich at it.
Right.
Obviously, if I really tried hard to get, I have the email for the execs at Warner Brothers. I found the people who do toy distributions and such, whatever. And I tried really hard to get the rights to Scooby-Doo, but they said not at this time, because that Kickstarter would have funded everything else, I'm sure. That's a multi-generational IP that's been around for, imagine the Scooby-Doo role-playing game. I think
as a Scooby-Doo tabletop.
I would have. It would have been huge, because you got, my mom could have seen when she was younger. My generation, next generation. It's got movies for multiple generations. That's amazing. Something like that. Secret World is, it's unfortunately not as big as it was, and so even with that, we had a massive response for a first-time game maker. As far as most people are concerned, first-time game maker. We had a really big response. So I mean, imagine what something like a big IP would do for a small company, as far as that goes. But
oh yeah,
we're super happy with the response from Secret World, and almost all the backers have been very understanding. If you are a little bit upset that they didn't get things as quick as they wanted or something like that. But I mean, I can understand why they're upset. They want it now. They're excited. They've had to wait a long time. We've had a fair amount of delays. Fortunately, it's all, we've got all, like I said, we got the cards now. We got the main book. We're just waiting on the limited covers to come in so I can approve them. And then we can start sending out the codes, and I can just stay on the weekends until everyone gets their stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
So.
I mean, yeah, you're working with an IP that Secret World has it's not in its heyday. It's not in its Funcom has sort of put it on the back burner for their other projects, for Dune, for Conan Exiles,
Did it have a heyday though?
I think it did.
It did. There was
relative to the IP and its size, it had its heyday.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to shit talk it, but I love the game, obviously. But
it was sort of always
it had a bad launch that it never really recovered from, and it's always had a steady influx and a steady amount of people that just stuck with it. and a
Mhm.
steady influx of people trying it, and especially since it went free to play, right? There's even more people trying,
Mhm.
but there's a pretty decent turnover. But I actually don't know. Like, okay, I will say it used to get updates, right? So maybe that would be a
Yeah.
payday when it had content coming out, but that didn't actually equate to like popularity or number of people playing it really. Like that was one of the problems why they went free to play is because they didn't sell enough of the DLCs to cover making them.
Yeah. 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 They
Right?
sort
So
of had an
like
issue with that.
I'm
Yeah.
actually
Secret
not
World.
sure
Sorry. Go
if
ahead.
it was I'm actually not sure if it was ever like spiked real high at a specific point.
I wonder.
Necessarily.
I guess Funcom has those numbers. I wonder when that point actually would be. Like when that point actually would be that there's a if there was like a peak.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff I think can be found. I think there's certain ways to get that information from Steam or whatever. At least from that, it won't be like back when it first. You could see the current several years of it. However long it was on Steam, I guess.
Yeah,
Well, yeah.
because
The
you can
problem
only see
with that
this
is
the Steam when it first came out of Steam, but there's like what 6 years
there was a long
beforehand.
delay
Yeah,
Yeah.
we wouldn't have
between
any of that. So
when they
Yeah.
actually launched on Steam. Yeah, so that's sort of like
Well, there's
Steam
also
could have that, but
there's also the problem like you don't have the Funcom launcher numbers. That's always been a problem, right? Is like even now, even with Legends, you can look at the Steam chart, but that doesn't tell you anyone that's playing not on Steam.
yeah. And most people
Kind of
who
a problem.
started playing not on Steam are probably still not playing on Steam. Like I'm not
Right.
playing on Steam.
Well, what's funny is I've actually seen because technically I think you can convert either way like once. So I think people have actually had a Steam account and converted to the Funcom account and said, "Fuck, look, Steam, I don't want to do that."
Yeah.
Well, I mean, either way, the game is I think in a lot of ways the tabletop will serve it better than the video game can as far as what we can do with it. In some ways, it's a lot less expensive to create content for an RPG. Obviously, if we had like Wizards of the Coast budget, we could be knocking it out. But as a whole, I mean, I think we're going to be able to I hope we're going to be able to add a good amount of content to it over the next couple of years. They just renewed our contract with us, so
That's a
we
good
have
thing.
enough. Yeah, well, I wanted to secure that before we started worrying about the next couple of projects because we were good through all of next year pretty much still. And so I wanted to make sure that if we start to try to tell a story arc with sequential books, I don't want to get halfway through and go, another time you can't find out what happens at the end.
Yeah, you get to a certain point and it's like, well, the story continues, but you're not going to be able to know what it is.
Yeah.
We're never going to tell you. Because I do have a story arc in mind that now that we have that time, I'm going to see if I can get the overall arc approved with Funcom first, and then we're going to start to do the individual books working towards that story, which will take about 5 books. It doesn't have to, but we want to do like I've said many times before, a North America,
Mhm.
Illuminati, Templar, Europe,
Yeah.
and kind of break it down by geography a little bit and so we can add some area to explore the rest of the secret world more in depth. And that's why we highlighted Boston, Mumbai, and Paris in the book, because we wanted to go to areas that are not really fully covered, and as we do this, we want to, more large cities that you haven't gone to, so you can explore how it's affecting different parts of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. To go to those places where the game itself has not gone. Yeah, absolutely. Or even that the game maybe might not even tend to ever go to,
Well, and that's the thing with the book. If we do a book that's, say, probably 150 to 200 pages going forward, what the size of the books will be as we expand the setting. And we can do in that 100 pages, since a lot of it's just your imagination, you don't need every detail. It's not generating, dozens of models and city locations and all the work that has to go into that. We can just add quite a bit of detail into a book. 100 pages of lore for Europe obviously couldn't cover all of Europe, but we can cover massive more chunks that in a video game would cost much more, take much more time. No video game can ever keep up with an RPG, provided you keep making the books as far as the total content you can give ideas for, because obviously the GM has what's in their brain. They're the computer. You're playing against the GM, and not really. It's supposed to be cooperative in some sense, but you get my idea. Unless you have a mean GM who likes to throw zombies at you till you die, which is totally legit because you can't die, more or less.
more or less. But that is something that I
it's more of an inconvenience.
It doesn't stop you.
Well, I think the ideal thing too is to, in some ways, would be to focus. Sometimes throw stuff at the players that they, Kender Mage, that they actually can't win against. Number one, because in a normal game, when you do that, you kill the players, and it's a TPK. No one has any fun. They're all dead. They have to make all new characters. In this game, you show that the world is dangerous. You can't always win, but you also have the good part that, hey, even if I do kill them all, they're not dead,
right,
for long,
right. And that's sort of part of why I'm actually really excited about this prospect, is because, like, part of the whole aspect of storytelling, as you know, is it's sort of like it's a cooperative effort, the DM and the players together, and it's an entire all-encompassing story. It is not a video game. It is not basically where you are going off of what is essentially a very set thing. It's a very set thing that it's that the DM can turn stuff around, that they have that control. And so sometimes you feel like the DMs, like, they don't want to kill the players because that ends the story, that ends the fun, that ends the whole cooperative storytelling idea. It takes away from that. But in this secret world setting, death is not necessarily death. So you can
so much nicer DMs than I ever did.
What's that?
So you played with much nicer DMs than I ever did.
Yeah, probably.
The ones I played with were like, "Oh, you're level 2? Yeah. So you're about to get mauled to death by these dogs. Good luck climbing a tree. Roll back."
And here comes a rock that's going to squish you.
Like, you've stepped on a Lego. You have an infection. You died.
Yeah, peace out. Next. You're done.
Sorry, guys. Too bad for you. And just getting to this point was really nice. Finally, I feel like now I can actually hold up a book and go, I make games now. So for me, this has been about 6 years of getting into the industry, and this is like I said, our first major project. So now we have a whole list of projects all lined up that we wrote while we were waiting for stuff here to move along. Various people were working on things like my Saints and Sinners setting has been worked on for years, or we acquired another IP, Dominions of Steel, which is like a Mech Warrior-esque inspired setting. We just have a lot going on, but it's the secret world is going to be something we're probably going to do. The goal is to do it realistically is to do at least a book a year. And maybe
okay,
that's kind of the goal. I mean, it'll be depending on response and how people, if the next Kickstarter goes off and only 200 people back it, that might slow it down a lot.
Yeah.
So we'll see how the Secret World does for Savage Worlds, because that's up next, probably next month.
Okay, and that's the next Kickstarter that's coming.
Yep, we had said we were going to do 2 systems. Savage Worlds was always my intended alternate system. We just believe 5e was going to give us the best chance to be successful and fund the project. And I
agree. Yep. I think that was a good call. Absolutely. To start with what is basically the most popular thing right now, strike while the iron is hot sort of situation. And then, and if you pay attention to the Discord, you'll see that there's a lot of people going like, 5e, and there's a lot of people who are basically not purists, I would say, but they are very passionate about other systems, thinking that basically 5e is not, the be all end all. And of course it doesn't have to be, it's not the be all end all.
Heresy.
But you could, it's not the only system. There's a whole bunch of systems out there. It's just, right, you start with what is basically the most popular, and then you get all the niche people coming out of the woodwork that say, oh, but this system is, people who know a lot more than me, or,
everybody
I know very
has
little.
their favorite system.
Yes.
Almost everyone who plays a role-playing game at one point in their time has played 5e, well, not 5e, but Dungeons and Dragons of some sort.
Right.
Most people, not all, but most. And to decide to make your first project a niche game, that's fine if you don't want to make money. You can do most of the art yourself. You can write most of it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can make that work. I would say I'm an okay writer. I wouldn't sell my work without an editor. A strong editor going over my own work, okay? I mean, I didn't write this book. I supervised the art. I had the idea. I negotiated the contract. I brought on Josh because he, writes for The Secret World or did. And now he's writing for Dune.
He's back,
he's full-time back for Funcom.
Awesome.
And I hired, my wife who plays this game. She's got like 3 level 50s. That's probably the main reason I knew anything about the game was more because of her. I played it quite a bit, but I didn't play it through as much as a lot of other people. So I didn't want to make it me writing the book. I want to find the people who play the game, people who wrote the game, so that the book would reflect the lore. Even though we advanced it, it would still have the right feel of the setting. And of course, some people say, well, I don't think this is that. I mean, you know what? Everything is true. Your version of The Secret World is completely right. Run it your way. That's what a role-playing game is. We had to make some decisions that made sense for us.
Yeah. Like if you want your house rules to say that, death works exactly the same way that we see in the game, and that, that you just sort of respawn somewhere else just really quickly, and you could possibly even run back into the fight. You could make that happen. This is tabletop. Part of tabletop is that it's open. It is whatever your imagination can come up with.
You can respawn really quickly if you make that choice between light and dark.
in the rules that you have set,
That's one aspect I like, that you pretty much, instead of going with it, just doing it all by yourself, you kind of expanded out your reach to surround yourself with these different people that had the experience with the game, or with Joshua Deutsch. I keep messing up his name. Deitch.
Just say Scriv.
Scrivenomancer is a lot easier.
Scrivenomancer, that's the name. That's all that matters.
But it's just like surrounding yourself with all these people that have the experience where you personally didn't have, but made a product that would incorporate all of their experience as well, which I think was probably what helped also to speak out to the wide community as well.
I feel like all my years of being in management and sales training and other things taught me how to be collaborative. And that's probably my strength that I bring to my own little company. Was I had ideas, but I didn't know how to do those ideas. Like, I want this. I think this would be cool. I have a vision for a company. But I always said, but I don't know. I don't think I'm smarter than everyone. I know that I'm very much not. So I said, let me find people who are smarter than me in each of these areas. My partner, Ross Watson, he's written for the Star Wars role-playing game. He's written, and he was oversaw the Edge of the Empire game that's out. Still finally going back into print. And he worked for a long time on Warhammer 40K. He's written for Savage Worlds and Rifts and such. And so he knows all these people. He knew writers. He knew Daryl Hardy, Daryl Hardy had never played this game. Okay, he did a good chunk of writing in it. But what he did was he went to every wiki. He played the game. He went and sat down and played the game for a couple hours to at least get a feel for it. And then he talked to Josh, and then he read everything he could read. He watched all these videos on it. He just absorbed the lore. He writes for all sorts of people in the industry, and he doesn't just say, oh, I know I'll write it my way. He goes, let me look at the source material. So even the writer that wrote a chunk of it who wasn't in it, just read everything he could and just watched hours of videos and played the game for several hours before he started writing for it.
Yeah. So, okay. Getting into it, getting that professionalism into the source material.
Yeah, it's made a big difference in making it come out. And I think for those that say, they don't like 5e, it's fine. Not everyone does. I mean, I like to play 5e. I don't like to run 5e.
Okay.
It's a thing. I can play 5e and I can run 5e, but I don't like to run. I ran like 20 games for my daughter because she's 20 something years old and said, "Dad, I really want to play D&D." I said, "Okay, I'll run D&D for you." So that's that, but I won't run it for anyone else. That's my kid. So if you don't, you're not going to outrank my kid. But the Savage World system, I can run or play that in my sleep, and so
Interesting.
It's so much easier to put an encounter together. It's so much easier to figure out how you want to build something. And for those that have said this should be a classless thing, that Savage Worlds is that. So
I was going to ask, basically, I do not know anything about Savage Worlds. What is like the primary difference between 5e and Savage Worlds?
Savage Worlds is always, it builds itself is fast, fun, and furious.
Okay.
And when you do combat in the game, a session of combat in D&D might take 2 hours. Mm-hmm. A strong, heavy, long combat in Savage Worlds might take 20 to 30 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And you'll do all the same amount of action. The action economy in Savage Worlds is like, you can do up to 3 actions in a turn at your first level of a character. There's penalties for it, but you can do it.
Okay.
And it is a generic system that uses that base foundation so that you can just pick what they call edges and hindrances that influence the build of your character along with your skills that you pick. So you can build almost any type of character by picking these different edges, hindrances, and skills. And then, hey, I'm going to be a fighter, so I'm going to take the sweep action because I can hit several characters at once. I'm going to make sure I put a few points in my fighting skill. But you can also be a spell casting fighter. It doesn't matter. The system lets you build everything.
Okay.
So it handles it pretty well.
And I think with that system, a lot of people would be interested in that because you don't have the time constraints of, I gotta make sure I'm building a campaign that is like 2 days worth. We can do something that's within an hour or 2 or whatever. Just a small little get together and just play through that.
Most of my Savage Worlds sessions have what I like to, when I run a session, I like to plan out what I call like the non-combat social encounter. That's usually like a smaller encounter. And then I have a small combat encounter that the players are just going to stomp all over the bad guys for usually. Let them feel badass.
Oh, yeah.
Because you should, I had a team that would always beat us down. We never got to feel powerful. I'm like, well, that's boring. I'm supposed to be a hero. When do I get to feel like a hero? So I always have that section. Then you have the meat of the investigation, the story, the plot, whatever's supposed to go on, and then the big set piece combat at the end. And so, whereas D&D, you're only going to have one combat in a session. And I can do all that in a 4-hour arc every time, like clockwork, and have a full, complete story every time. No problem.
Okay, and it's mostly because that combat you said runs so much faster. Yeah, that's been one of the things of Dungeons and Dragons 5e from what I know about it, but even just Dungeons and Dragons in general, is that it's almost like time slows down. Like it's everything's going at normal speed, and then combat starts, and it's like it slows down, and so everything becomes very. And yeah, you could go through. Each round is supposed to be 6 seconds, but it takes depending on how many players you have or how many whatever, it could take you a good 5-10 minutes to get through a single round.
At least. And it depends on the players, of course. Some players are faster and are more prepared and more paying attention. Even a Savage Worlds combat can run more than 30 minutes if you have highly inexperienced new players as they're learning their stuff. Sure, it's not perfect. No, it's not. I'm not saying one's better than the other, but definitely in general, one is faster than the other.
Yeah. Okay. And I could see where that would be more beneficial because in this instance, it acts more like the video game does because combats in video games
it can be more intense a lot quicker.
Right. Yeah.
The big difference is Savage Worlds uses an exploding dice mechanic. I don't know if you're familiar with that term at all.
Not at all. No.
So you're rolling your skill check, okay? And the average skill check in Savage Worlds is a 4 plus modifiers for many things. Like You're trying to shoot a bad guy. He's farther away. Oh, that's +2 because he's so far away. It's dark. It's another +2. You need to hit a target number of 8. Well, you have a D6 skill. How can you possibly hit a target number of 8? If you roll a 6 on your 6-sider, it explodes. You roll it again. If you roll a 6 again, you roll it again. And you keep adding as long as they say ace or they roll the max on the dice, you can roll it again.
Oh, okay. Sort of like the crit, if you will.
Yeah, essentially like that. And that you can also do that with damage. So it's a wound-based system versus a hit point-based system. You have 3 wounds for the average hero. Bad guys can go from 1 to whatever is appropriate, depending on the type they are. So I could literally roll enough damage to one-shot a dragon. It's very unlikely, but it's possible. There's ways to mitigate that and control that with the player, to make sure that doesn't happen. But in theory, in practice, you can sometimes hit a really crazy number and just knock something out right away. Also, it can also happen to the players. And again, because the players can't die, I don't have to worry about that, holding that back. So I'll let, I'm rolling behind the screen going, oh, that's going to kill the player. I'm like, no, let it happen. Let's see what happens when they make their choice of which way to go.
Yeah.
So,
and that's what makes Secret World just in general, that idea that, yeah, you can't really die, but
yeah,
I mean,
it'll
not
take as
a lot
punishing.
more than this. Right.
You can be imprisoned for eternity. You can be tortured for eternity. I mean, you can lose your character if you eventually go to the one side or the other, to where your character essentially is not yours anymore. So your character doesn't die, but if you do make those choices enough, you lose your character. So there is a chance of loss of the character.
Yeah.
And I think the important thing is when you play the game, and something I'm looking to make sure I add to the Savage Worlds, as I've thought about it more, because we can still write into the book now if we want to, is to really express that these players, generally speaking, depending on how the GM wants to write the story, is you're new. You're not alive and can't die for a long time. You should have attachments in the world and things that you care about. And you have your favorite cheeseburger joint. Do you want it to be blown up or destroyed? Do you want to your mom lives down the street. You're not always the orphan who has no one who cares about him. Your character should have bonds to the world to make it important. Why you're fighting this.
Every hero isn't an orphan that has had their parents killed in some horrible accident sometime.
And they have no friends, and they don't care about anything, and nothing can threaten them. Because players will oftentimes try to insulate themselves from any chance of being threatened, how do you say that word? Cajoled?
Cajoled.
Cajoled. I always say that word wrong. And pushed into a direction. I think that's actually a mistake. It's not fun. You think it is. Nothing can make me do anything. Great. Nothing can make you do anything. There's no reason for you to play this game.
Yeah, you're like.
So my character sits at home and plays video games.
It's the idea of the. I'm sure you've heard of the actor, like the actor who goes like, "What is my motivation?" But that is exactly kind of it. That's sort of the point that you're making, is that the players have to have some motivation.
Okay, to be fair, that's why you kill the parents. The whole orphan thing is supposed to be the motivation.
To be, but they generally use as the excuse for, I want to go out and get revenge. Okay, and
right. So you get your revenge. What's next?
Today? What's next? You have a plan?
Yeah. You get, and of course, more revenge.
Every hero, like the origin story, is like, oh, they made their own suit, but it looks like it's like high tech. Yeah, you're not going to getting material from Joanne and on your sewing machine.
Yeah. Spider-Man sewed his suit looked like garbage at first, at least, but he eventually became a master seamstress.
Along with crime fighting.
As you do.
It's fine.
This is how murder hobos are born. And create more murder hobos when they kill parents.
I mean, isn't that sort of what you do in video games too? Is there's a lot of games that is like, yeah, you can become a master seamstress eventually
if you want to. Yes,
if you want to. Yeah,
put skill points into it. There's the other thing that I like about what we did with the Savage Worlds is because a lot of people said they wanted to feel more like the video game. And doing 5e, we weren't going to rebuild the entire rule set of 5e. The whole point was to make it what people would recognize and could play from 5e.
Mm-hmm.
Because the way Savage Worlds is, it was very easy to build something that is reminiscent of. We did not, again, try to like force mold the entire video game over the RPG. That's not going to ever be a good idea. Not for a mechanical build. But what we were able to do is we built the power cards for Savage Worlds, where if you have a pistol, here's the list of powers you can access.
Okay.
And if you have your sword, here's your list of powers. You can we refer to them as conduits for your power. And so if you eventually, as you level up or advance your character, as the term in Savage Worlds, you can learn more conduits. So, hey, I started off with the sword and the hammer. Great. But now I want pistol. Great. You can only ever access 2 conduits, or whichever ones you can hold in your hand at the same time at once. So if you want to switch it out,
the game.
Yeah, there you go. That's again kind of why we did that. You can switch up. Say, well, I dropped my sword and I grabbed my pistol. And now you can access those powers. And we printed them on playing cards. I have a set I built just to see how it would work, and they're about playing card sized. And so the character sheet for Savage Worlds has the archetype, like say we did the Punisher archetype. It already has the first 2 conduits that you start with printed on there. But then you can just lay a card over those, literally the size of the same exact size of the actual playing card, and go, oh, I switched my weapon. You can just read that when you switch.
Okay.
So it feels like you're swapping out your power slots on your toolbar a little bit. Cool. Without trying too hard to make it exactly like a power slot bar across the board. So,
right.
It's like, now I've heard that D&D 5th edition is sort of like the most video game-ish version of D&D, and that's another reason why some people don't have a affinity for it, or some people are like, oh no, you need to go back and play like 3rd edition or something, you know, for whatever, that there's like, oh, 5th edition is too gamey in a sense.
So I heard that 5th edition is greatly streamlined and simplified. For some people, too simple. For other people, it's still too tactical and too miniatures based. But I've always heard 4th edition was the most video game like.
4th edition, okay.
That's what I'd always heard, but it really seemed like 4th edition tried to. Kender Mage is a good friend of mine. I'm gonna smack him around later.
Dr. Octopus, multi-arm character to use multiple conduits. I just want to know what happens if I hold like 7 swords at the same time and then drop them on somebody.
Well, if you drop
one sword, right?
So it might hurt them, but I don't think it's.
If I'm holding all 7, can I activate all 7 and then just go?
No, we're not doing that. I'm just
gonna bear hug
a bunch of swords. Like, I have multiple swords.
Taking all my swords, putting them together with zip ties.
Fortunately, the mechanics of the game, would even of just the basic game, without all the stuff we did to, make it work for Secret World, is would not allow that. You can take 3 actions in a game, and and if you're first, the simple point, if you do 3 actions, you're going to be at -4 to do your actions. So if you could do 8, you'd be at -16. You'd never succeed. So.
Okay. No exploding dice. I'll get there.
Yeah, it could happen. It's possible.
If anyone would find a way, it's Jimmy.
Yeah.
Enough.
Oh no, I'll lose forever. But one time in like a 6-month play session, I'll actually do something.
Like,
today's the day we're gonna play a 12-hour game session until it happens.
That's right. Love it. Love that determination.
That's how I normally play games. I just run at them and
you throw yourself against them.
In.
Yeah.
I know
play is relative.
We have the 3 the faction covers coming, that I ordered them expedited shipping, because obviously I want to deliver this to everyone as quickly as possible. And they should be here, I'm hoping, next week, but there's no guarantee. It could be the week thereafter. So that's about where we're looking for that. And once that happens, I'm going to start. I'm already going this week, and I'm sitting down and building out the how I can deliver the batches, when the time comes, and so that we can knock it out probably in about a 48-hour period of receiving the proofs, where I can just sit down on Saturday, Sunday, just make sure everyone gets their stuff. And I'm sure some people will still be missing. I'll have to get those individuals, because no matter what, there's people who didn't know they had to have a Drive-Thru RPG account, even though we said you that was how it was going to be delivered. I think they didn't understand that, which is fine. If they didn't know, they didn't know. So there's those things we'll have to fix, but we should pretty much have it out ASAP after that. So,
and the idea that basically that you know that in this sort of project, like I know that I have signed up and I've backed a lot of things on Kickstarter over the years, and there's just a bunch that I haven't checked up on in a long time. And who knows if it's like they asked all kinds of questions and I'm like, oh, maybe I should get around to actually answering them. It's a it's and so also you're dealing with people who don't or aren't paying the most attention to their Kickstarter emails.
I have been told by some people, this was a statement someone's told me, that some people turn off their emails and they don't like to, and they turn off their alerts for the what's the general message we do out, the announcements or whatever, the updates. And I'm like, okay, if you turn that off and you turn off your emails and then you say, but I didn't get the information.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
It's all on you.
Yeah.
We'll still fix it when you finally figure out that you didn't get the information. Yes, but please don't be mad at us because you chose not to get the information. I mean,
yes,
I'm not going to say, hey, we're not going to give it to you because you just figured it out. I mean, but there's also some people that were, for example, that said, I didn't understand it was a print on demand project. We're not going to go back to all that again, but that was well shared several times. And we have changed the Kickstarter for Savage Worlds, has every single tier says it's a print on demand project. You will pay for this. You'll pay for printing and shipping after the project. So if they don't read it there in this case, then I'll be like, I really tried. The fact is going to already have it in there, and it's going to be underneath there's going to be a little asterisk under every visual of the package of what you can get. Like, you need to refer to this so you know what you're getting. I don't want anyone to feel like, it was never our intention to make anyone feel cheated. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
We want everyone to feel, to get a good product. I mean, I'll tell you right now, I think this product could be better, but that's because I will never be happy with the product I make.
That's
my first one.
They say that's universal. That's sort of like if you're striving for 100%, then you'll never necessarily be happy with it. So striving for more like 90% or 80%, something that's a little more, depending upon the project, something that's a little more understandable.
Strive for 100,
right?
But with deadlines. So you're just like, okay, well, this is, if we got it to 95, that's as good as it's gonna get by this date. Like,
what is it? Was it time, money? What does it say? Time,
quality?
money, quality? Yeah, pick two.
Oh.
Yeah.
You can have it good, fast, or it was good
and fast, but it won't be cheap.
Yeah, good, fast, or cheap.
That's what it is.
Pick two.
You can have it good and fast, but it won't be cheap. Or you can have it good and cheap, but it won't be fast. And
you can have it fast and cheap.
You can have it fast and cheap, but it won't be good.
Right.
That's debatable.
Well, I mean, if we had, if this was my only job, and everyone on the team, this was their only job, we had a budget from some large company that said, make this, and we could sit around working on this 40, 50 hours a week till we were happy with it. It still wouldn't be perfect, but yes, it would be better because we would have that kind of budget and time to put into it. And there are people who are like, well, I wish you had made custom spells. First of all, that was never part of the project's intention. We never stated that it was.
You're like, we're not changing the spell book for D&D.
Right. That, I understand why people want it. They wanted to make it more just like the game. I mean, we couldn't. There's no way that we would have built that rule set and done that with the time we had. I mean, even so, look how long it took as it was. If we had to build an entire custom rule setup, 3 years from now, you would have had that project, and we would have run out of money, and it wouldn't have been done. Because nobody's working on it.
Even still, as DMs and whatnot, you could just turn around and say, okay, well, this power, you could take the setup that you've already done and say have the bless, something like that, like a classic D&D spell, bless. You could just say instead that is just as a DM, you could be like, that's Gaia's blessing, does the same exact stuff, as the bless spell, essentially. But that's also depending upon how comfortable players are with DMs are with changing their own stuff around or doing that. Again, you can do that. You can just change the name of stuff. It doesn't matter. The effect is exactly the same, and it's the effects that are all balanced.
So interesting enough, two things. Like one, I get where exactly what you said is true. And I don't think it's good game design to sell a product and say to the people, I'm not saying you're wrong. This is what you can do at home, and every GM can and should do. It's not good on the creator's part to say, if you don't like it, that's how you can fix it. For us, we should try and make something that fills the need instead of saying, hey, by the way, we made a product, but you're going to have to do most of the work at home to make it work the way you want it to.
Right, yeah.
That being said, we said this is what we're making. This is why we're doing it this way, and this is what we can put the time into. Interesting enough, on the other hand, though, Savage Worlds actually has the way you get powers. It specifically says you have to give them a trapping or label how they look and work in your world. The damage is the same. I have a power called Bolt. I don't. Savage Worlds has a power called Bolt. The mage shoots a bolt at an enemy. It could be an ice bolt. It can be a fire bolt. It can be a kinetic energy bolt.
Fireball.
You as the player, fireball. Did I stutter? I cast fireball. It's my wife's favorite spell if she plays that. I said, "You're going to really cast fireball?" She's like, "Did I stutter?" She's going to blast with a fireball.
Point of fact. The fireball spell is called fireball in Secret World. So there's no need to rename that particular
Don't need to rename that one.
Yeah.
But Savage World says you have to pick the trapping. The damage is still 3d6 or 2d6 for the attack, whatever it is. But it matters if you say it's ice bolt, because then it stays that. And then if you attack a creature who's immune to cold, that creature may be immune to it.
Right.
But you have to define it. What we did because it's the Secret World, we wanted to try to get it some of the flavors, we defined the trappings for the powers. Obviously, you can change that and if you want, but we tried to. We built the archetypes. We said, what sounds about right? Well, the elemental's got some fire powers because it seems fitting, or whatever's appropriate. The blood magic comes out with a sickly green light because that just sounded cool and it gives it a certain look. We didn't try to match colors to the video game. That's insane. That's not going to happen.
No.
Every description like that, because they have light effects and crazy stuff. But we tried to give a theme to those powers, so again, it feels like it matches. Doing that with D&D would be completely a rewrite. Is this a GM discussion stream?
I think Goth there came in a little later. Goth, we are talking with Brandon from Star Anvil Studios. In case anyone else is coming a little later, we're talking with Brandon from Star Anvil Studios, who is releasing the Secret World tabletop RPG, and so we're discussing all the intricacies of that. And they have just released the final PDF to all Kickstarter backers. So now, if you are a backer,
on screen,
there you go. Oh my gosh, so pretty.
Holy moly! That is a thick book. I like
It
it.
is, and you could kill someone
you
with that
open
book.
to the dragon? Nice.
Not on purpose.
No, that's how dragons roll.
Better.
That's how dragons roll.
Chaotically, I open to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Same price. This book, final priced on Drive-Thru RPG, I haven't 100% decided on yet, because I got to look at the final cost. It's probably
it is 386 pages.
Yeah, we got to look because in
$1 a page.
Drive-Thru RPG knocks out a good 35% off of whatever we make, and so we also have to pay Funcom off of what we make. So we're making less than half of whatever. And we're not making the money for printing; that doesn't come to us. So we got to market to a price. I think we're going to be looking at. I don't know. It's going to be more. It's going to be around 50 or more. We'll have a final price between 50 and 60.
I feel like that's fair, though. That seems like a fair price
for a almost 400-page book. That you use other, like, to say that you need no other book is true. You don't need any other book to play.
Yeah,
but would you want other books to play? Well, sure. The amount of monsters we got in here is a good chunk. I mean, yeah, There's a good.
But you
know,
want, the
40,
bestiary
or
and
you might want a bestiary, like you might
monster
want
cards,
to
power cards. Yeah.
because it's D&D, you might use other classes from other books they have and say that seems to fit the secret world for me, and they may use that. So yeah, it's around there. Yeah,
Yeah.
D&D did raise their books. They raised their books to $60 going forward. So we're still in the price range. So we're not. If you didn't know that, new D&D books are not going to be 50 anymore, guys. They're going to be 60 because printing has gone up that much in cost. So
Everything's
strangely
inflated.
enough,
Fine. Yeah.
them raising their price is actually good for the smaller companies because the smaller companies always feel like we can't raise our price above the price of the big company because they're like, well, you're a small company, you're charged as much as Wizards of the Coast. How dare you?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
What
you're
do I get
charging
for
more
that
than
money?
them. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's obviously backwards thinking, right? Because the
It
bigger
is
company
absolutely.
can afford to soak it, right? They're moving volume.
I
Oh
was gonna
yeah.
say
Indie
they've
ones
got they
should be
save
more
on
expensive.
the printing, they save on all that stuff by basically having all their contracts
Yeah.
with their distributors or suppliers, blah 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 blah
They
blah.
have an
Yeah.
issue where they don't have enough printers to print all their books all at once, which is part of why they're breaking up the printing runs for players, GM, and bestiary over more time.
Interesting. Okay.
They print at such a. I have an idea of like what books can get down to because there's a couple websites you can look at. They're probably printing books at a cost of between $4 to $6 a book tops.
Okay. Yeah.
That's print cost. I mean, they still got delivery and they've still got distribution, other stuff involved in their costs, I'm sure, but they're not hurting for money.
No.
They're selling a book for 60. It's probably cost them like 10 or 12 bucks to get the whole thing done,
Yeah.
and they're selling 1 million books, and I sold 1,900 books. So
No, absolutely.
It kind of equals out.
So far,
yeah, it's same.
Yeah, no, I remember I worked for Barnes and Noble in the past, and you learn so much about how book sales actually work and how the book industry works. And one of the most surprising one was if a book is on your shelves and it doesn't sell, that for the bigger books, for like the hard copy books, you would send them back to the distributor. You'd be like, this didn't sell, here you go, you could have the big books back. But the big books have such a low overhead that a hardcover book, like Barnes & Noble made like almost nothing off of those hardcover books. They didn't really care. They would always have them, but they didn't really care if you bought the hardcover books. It was the paperbacks. It's the paperbacks, and it was the ones that they printed themselves that were always the big money makers. And so even like they would have like a whole bunch of paperbacks, and they're like, oh, we'll send these back to the distributor, and they're like, don't even bother mailing them because they're so cheap to print. That it was the idea of when a book doesn't sell, you rip off the cover and just send them back the cover.
Yeah.
And so like you start learning all this stuff about the how printing industries work and whatnot. You're like, this is not anywhere near what I would expect it to be. And so it's sort of on that same level with these books as well. Kind of. I feel like these books are a little different. Like,
well, first of all, with these books, if we want to transition to in the future, and I don't know when that will happen, depends on the level of success we have as we go forward into doing print runs. And we already have a publisher that we want to work with, that we've talked to, that we can work with. And part of the reason for doing two different Kickstarters, so to try to do like one for Savage Worlds and for this, is the Savage Worlds book obviously cost us less to make. It's already written. The lore doesn't change.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, that's
good.
Same trade dress, same art. When we make money on this, we can use that to apply towards future projects and stuff. So, what would that mean?
God's asking a question.
We set this up where you are playing. You're instead of picking your race as D&D does, you're picking your faction. That's more that has more influence, and that makes sense to break it down that way, because that's the most important choice you make pretty much as a character, other than your class or your archetype or whatever you want to call it, is your faction, and then how you experience the game tactically, basically. Because let's face it, people talk a lot about how amazing the puzzles and stuff in this game are, but there's a whole lot of killing too. So
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of fighting.
Yeah.
So that's one of your primary interactions with the game. So.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, that's sort of combat is the way things go in like a grand majority of video games.
I did do a pacifist playthrough of the game.
You did. You can. Yeah, it's possible.
Good luck with that. I would not try to do that.
I know I did it.
Would. Jimmy has.
I'm not saying. I'm saying enjoy is all I'm saying. I would. Not.
Yes.
I will say a funny thing I found out during that run is that the dance emotes don't get canceled by getting hit. So I was able to dance during most of the fights.
That's amazing, actually.
So like when I was fighting Mara, the vampire queen, I was just dancing around and it looked like my character was like slapping her in the face. I was doing like the hand movements while just reflecting damage back. That part was pretty good.
Wow. It's a new archetype we have to come up with, the pacifist dancing archetype.
If you haven't met Jimmy, Jimmy here is you've met Jimmy, but if you didn't know
before.
Yeah.
Yes, Jimmy is sort of known for coming up with the most imaginative ways to play Secret World Legends. Just like what playthrough are you going through now, Jimmy?
Lights Out.
Yes.
Fox made me a mod, so all the lighting in the game, all the normal lighting in the game is off.
Ugh.
So I think certain spotlights and certain things still illuminate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm mostly using the ground AoE effect, weapon effects as like a sort of a sonar. Like it's like the AoE from like smacking the ground effect goes out and like hits the walls and goes up, so I can kind of see what's going on.
So you're basically you're playing in almost total darkness.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely would not be a way I would try to experience the game.
Exactly, yes.
Well,
I'm already colorblind. I'm not making it harder on me than it is.
In the run prior, like a couple months ago, I did Death Race, where we had a mod that made me always be running, and then if I stood still after 10 seconds, I would die. So
oh wow.
So during that, I was in the Egyptian part, like under the pyramid where you're running around with a torch, and I somehow dropped the torch, but I was running and couldn't like stop moving. So I just started spamming my ability to like sort of see the walls. And that's what made me think of, and literally like, I think last week, I was like, remembering, it's like, you know what? That'd be a cool way to just do the game. And then I hit up Fox and was like, hey, so do you think you can make me a mod that like just gets rid of the
turns
lighting?
Everything off?
And then here we are.
I'm glad that Fox is there too for your
Fox is my
mod
enabler.
whims. Yeah, he's your enabler.
So someone asked if the Phoenicians or Orochi factions are choices to play as far as your starting factions. No, they're not. And that's simply because, again, room in the book and time to build all that. They said bless you, honey. It's my wife. She didn't hear. She's got her headphones on. Her allergies are killing her. We couldn't do we didn't want to try and cover everything in one book. It's already just so big. People are like, are you going to have combat rules for vehicles? Mm-hmm. Well, as cool as that might be for some people, how many times has vehicle combat been important to you in the Secret World so far?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially when as a bee, you can pretty much go anywhere at any time. You don't need to like hop on a plane.
And even if that were D&D,
I
that's
guess
not a book that you find in the original, set. That's a separate book you purchase,
Yeah, that would be. It's like anything. Even the D&D book has like rules for ship combats in a separate book, because you can only put so much in one book. I mean, this is a huge book which has a lot of stuff. It's the foundation to build on, and same thing with the Savage Worlds book will be for the Savage Worlds version. From there, we can expand to build the world, add cool things. I think the only thing I feel like we missed out on for the Savage Worlds book, looking back at it, and it's not done, so I'm going to see if I can fit this in there, is using some kind of talisman or something to, create armor for your character. because you're not really walking around in full plate armor or anything in this game. It's not a thing. So there's a couple little tweaks I'm trying to get in there. We have time to work on it. We've got the Savage Worlds version, I think, is like 85% done already.
Okay.
That actually reminds me, like, that was one of the things I always found interesting about Secret World, even from the beginning, is most video games you have to deal with I found a piece of armor and it's better, but it's ugly as sin and I don't want to use it. And then more modern games will have like, well, you can just uncheck it so it doesn't show. Right. Or you can make some kind of mod so like you can use that piece but it looks like something else.
Right. Whereas you have your cosmetic appearance versus your actual armor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas Secret World was like, oh no, these are talismans. It's not armor. You have a necklace and a ring and a bracelet and a belt. Like, right? Like you can wear whatever the hell you want because that's not where the empowerment's coming from. The empowerment's coming from this array of like trinkets or you just could be flare buttons on your vest. It doesn't really matter, right?
Yeah.
They're imbued with something.
Isn't like one of the effigies that you could have basically like a cell phone cable wrapped around like
it's a headphones.
Of the elemental focus.
Yeah, an elemental focus.
One of the elemental focuses is like a USB cable looking thing.
Yeah.
Just got a piece of USB cable on my belt. Lets me channel fireball
wrap around this piece of this hand grip thing, and there you go. That's my focus.
You don't need to have all blues before Egypt. It might be easier for you. It's certainly not necessary. Sam.
I mean, this is also coming from you.
Well, I'm just look. You don't need anything to beat the game. To beat the story of the game, you can do it with like literally nothing. Just take some perseverance. I would say normal players probably need gear. But yeah, you don't need to be in all blues.
You don't have to. Yeah.
It would help though to have the right pieces and probably like the right passives and glyphs. Like that's probably more important than having all of a certain color, like upgrade. What's more important is having your glyph layout correct. And passives, upgrading the right passives.
Now, Brayden, what do you think of because this thought keeps coming to mind, and that is the idea that yes, players are expecting, like, because Secret World is so like has such a passionate fan base to it, and because Secret World has that we're basically in the game itself, we're sort of clamoring for new content. So we tend to latch on to projects of people who are like, I'm creating something for the game. It's like, that's amazing. That's amazing. You're writing novels for the game. That's great. You're writing tabletop for the game. That's amazing. And so we sort of latch on to these projects. But our passionate tends to be like, people want it the way that they want it. Like people want it a very specific way, and what's in their head. And so have you encountered like a whole bunch of issues with people basically like, this isn't what I imagined it to be. This isn't like, if I was going to create a tabletop for it, that, like, this isn't what I wanted. This isn't what I did. Have you encountered a lot of that pushback?
I've had a fair share of people who were expressed their different opinions of how things should be done, some more vehemently than others. Some were polite and just said, I don't like it. Some were like, this is trash. And you know what? They're right as far as they're concerned, and that's all that matters. I mean, I get it. It's not what they wanted, but I don't want to put too fine a point on it, but then you could make it yourself. And I don't mean that in a rude way. I mean, like, I can only make what I can make. And so
like this is in effect a piece of art. This is, I mean, it's a game and this, but I mean, games are art, but in a way, this is like your art.
Sorry. Yeah, take the systems for example.
Mm-hmm.
Dungeons and Dragons, Savage Worlds, Powered by the Apocalypse, Cypher, Cephas Engine, 2D20. I mean, any other number of systems you can name. OpenD6, lots of other systems that exist out there. There's a whole lot more than I just named. And every one of those systems is one that some person thinks would be perfect for this game.
Mm-hmm.
And every person is right as far as they're concerned.
Yes.
And for them, they can take the lore part and say, hey, now I have this lore in a written section. I mostly agree with your lore. There's a foundation to build from. Because I can't do 12 systems. Even 2 is a lot to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, there have been people who aren't happy with it. Or like I said, one guy's or woman, I don't know, it was just whatever the name was on the email came through, said or the comment was, they really wish we had done custom spells. And I've heard that more than once. And I get it. It's just not practical. It's the amount of money and time it takes to write rules I mean, the spells in this game already exist. They've already been tested.
Mm-hmm.
If you want me to play test all the rules and start from scratch, build a system from scratch, I mean, we could have done a whole bunch more play testing, and 3-4 years from now, the book will be done.
Yeah.
So.
And then you will have them complaints like, "Oh, why is it taking so long?" Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's always good, cheap, or fast.
Always
Pick
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I get that they're not happy with some things, and I'm totally I can understand where they're coming from, up to the point where they're rude. And then if you express to me, I wish you would have done this, I think it would be better, that's fine. If you start being insulting or attacking someone personally, that's when I just stop listening, because I'm sorry, I can't help you there if you're just gonna be rude. I mean, again, you could tell me you don't like what I made, that's fine. It's personal choice.
See,
I respect that. I respect that.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you want it for a different system, right? Like, for me personally, I think you would still want the book, just because you would then have like source material, like yourself, to then do something with. Because there's a large difference between staring at a blank page and trying to make something versus getting something that you can now see what you want different and do it differently. So even if I liked some other system, right, and wanted to run a campaign in a different system, I probably would get the book just to have the source material to be like, okay, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to do this part differently in this system, right? Because you just bridge it. And I've known some friends that were, role playing like games, tabletop games, like a lot longer than me. And I think they've got like a library of stuff. And I swear to God, some of those books they either have just for the setting, or just for the rule set, or you know what I mean, like they may play like 2 or 3 of them in a given year, but it's a resource, right? You're like, I'm going to pull from this. So I don't know. I think if someone genuinely is like, I don't want it because it's useless if it's not this system, I'm sorry, you're kind of an idiot. Like,
so you see these bookshelves behind me here? You can't see all of them, but there's about three book sets back there like that.
Okay.
They have 4 shelves in there and they're not open, but there's about, I don't know, 600 books back there. That's not that many, maybe. Let's see, 20 a shelf, 4 shelves, 80, there's like 350 books back there. I don't get to play all those books, but I mean, my Star Wars rule set is amazing. There's a game by Free League called Coriolis. I know they're doing a Kickstarter for it right now. Neat system, all D6 based. I read through it and go, oh, it's space based. I like it. I'm interested. Let me see what they did. And they had this thing where when you make your characters, you design your crew, like what your player, because you get a spaceship. What are you going to do together? I said, that's a neat idea. And I'm doing my Saints and Sinners games. I said, that's a neat way to get the group to pick out what they're going to be. It's kind of like picking a faction. It gives you a purpose. And so you read through these other games and you go, that's a neat idea. How does it apply to the rule set or the setting that I'm doing in? How do I make that work? And so it gives you, especially if you're creating games, I can't think of everything on my own. So many smarter people have already done dozens of things more to me. So I'm picking from that. So a lot of people are going to pick up this 5e book and go, hey, wow, that's a nice big chunky book. I'll show it off again there. That one.
No, that is a nice picture.
It is a lovely book. That's why,
look at the monsters. Sorry,
my bad. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, they can look at the monsters and say, hey, I want those monsters in my game. Well, this monster has this toughness in this game. That's about equal to that. And they can kind of start to get a gauge where they build it from, or they can look at the setting and go, okay, well, we got all the setting material I want in here, even if they don't use it all. So yeah, they can use it as a reference for sure. For some people, that'll be exactly what they use it for. They've already said so.
Yeah, I mean, to me, like, that's like the, I don't know, sort of adult thing to do is realize that, probably nothing's ever going to be exactly what you envision in your head, but like, it's still better than not having anything.
It's still yes. I mean, you'll see that a lot.
This source material always has a value.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying from my experience with like hardcore tabletop people, like, even if they're complaining, they probably would still buy the book, because you just like, oh, I'm just going to absorb this and add it to the collection of.
So many people will complain about something, but then still buy it because they still want it. They just want it to be their way, and now they own it. They have the right to complain about it because they paid for it.
I'm just saying.
I don't even want a copy. I just want to pay you money so I can complain.
I get this up there. Here's my. This is for the Savage Worlds. Let's see if I can do that right.
Oh, cool.
Now,
that's the Benny.
You showed that picture, but what is that?
So it's a meta currency. In the game, you can say, I got hit for damage, and I don't want to take that damage. You get 3 to start with, and as you play the game, you can earn more. You could say, well, that didn't really happen. I'm going to spend a Benny and roll my dice and see if I didn't get hit for that damage. Or you can say, it'd be really cool? I want to break into that door, and you're in a warehouse. I want to use a crowbar. Is there a crowbar laying around? And GM says, well, there's not, but there can be. Okay, I'll spend a Benny. There was. It was always there.
Okay.
It gives you some influence over the narrative to a degree. And it can also be spent to gain more power points. If you say, like, my character reaches down deep and still wants to cast that spell, even though I'm out of power points, you can spend one of your bennies. So,
okay,
sacrifice my liver.
Because you sent the picture, and at first I thought, are those drink coasters? Is the first thing that popped to mind, and I was like,
get bigger ones and do that. No.
I was like, no,
you're making drink coasters.
You're making coasters now.
It's a pog.
Oh, pogs, yeah.
It's about the size of a pog.
That's what kind of like size-wise. I don't know what size cups Mikey's using.
Yeah, shot glasses. Don't ask. Yeah. 1, 2. So yeah, these.
Been
and I did these with the dragon and dragons. No, dragon.
Dragons.
Oh no.
Dragons. No, the dragon, the Templar, and the Illuminati. I have these so that just when we're playing it at the table at the convention, it just helps thematically do it. They don't have to have any pattern on them at all. It just looks cool to have.
Yeah,
that is cool though.
Mm-hmm.
So. Ordered the dice too, but they're not here yet, so we'll see if they show up in time.
So,
go ahead.
Oh no,
I was going to say we also have what's called a conviction token in Savage Worlds, and that's like it's the ultimate version of these. And for that, I ordered these little brass honeycombs. So.
Oh my gosh,
nice.
Can we see them? Do you have one?
They haven't showed up yet. They'll be here soon.
A little brass honeycomb.
Soon, TM.
Love the idea.
Soon. Definitely trademarked.
It's been trademarked for a while. By Funcom. So right now we have the final PDF has been put out, and that's been given to all backers. So what is next in line for like what should we expect a little further down the road? We have the final PDF in hand. What is coming next?
Next thing is going to be delivery of everything.
Everything.
All at once.
Okay.
Yeah. That's,
okay.
To constantly keep sending out and then have people say what got missed and then have to answer 100 emails.
Mm-hmm.
For those that aren't getting it for whatever reason, that would just be it would just bog it down. So the best thing for me to do is going to be get everything, send it all out, and then fix whoever didn't get it. And that way I'm not doing this for the next 3 months because I can't. we do have to do other products and we have to keep going.
Yeah.
Just can't. So, I mean, I want to get it delivered. Plus, everyone needs to get their stuff. And the fastest way to do that is to do a major delivery, get it all done, and then fix whoever got missed for whatever technical reason and be done with it so that everyone has their stuff. And that's going to be the most efficient way to do it. Fixing every single person individually over time, at the beginning, before I've done the major delivery, which might fix a lot of problems, would just bog me down for the next, I don't know, I wouldn't sleep for the next 2 weeks like I didn't for the first week and a half of the Kickstarter.
No, I bet. Yeah.
Yeah, I was learning how to deal with the negativity that came from some people for the first Kickstarter, and I was just up all night checking my messages and trying to make it work. Now I've just learned to
tune it out.
Completely ignore them.
Well, not that either, but
not completely either. Yeah.
Not completely.
Well, no, you do a quick perusal. It's like, yeah, okay.
Serenity now.
Yeah.
The idea that even in some people's harshest criticism, there is still nuggets of, okay, I could see, sort of taking someone's words and shifting them around, imagining that they are said in a much more polite term or a much more polite way. And
I try really hard.
Some people are just assholes.
I didn't say that.
Well, it's the internet. So
I mean, we know, no one is surprised by this fact. Okay.
Some people are less than kind.
Yeah.
I just want, the biggest thing I think if people would understand, like, I don't expect people to say whatever you do is okay because you're new, but I am new. I've been at this for about 5 years now, learned a lot. We've done 1, 2, 3, did a small 5-page thing. Then I did a couple of 30-page things. And then we did this. And I learned a lot. Like, I think part of the problem might be is that with the backer kit, I don't think we included a drop-down menu to say, what's your email for Drive-Thru RPG? And so I think that might be where I got some of the emails that we need to get. So in the next one, there's going to be a drop-down. This is a POD delivery project through Drive-Thru RPG. If you don't have an account, go make one. Then come back and answer this with the email you want this sent to. I mean, that's just going to be done so that we can make sure we get it to people. I think that's part of the problem. But I didn't know that going into it. And so if we can resolve those things and make it better each time we go forward, it'll get simpler and it'll be better delivery. One neat thing to bring up about that reminds me. So for the Savage Worlds one, I'll give you one of the ideas. One of the things we want to do is some people like to just contribute a little bit of money. They don't want to back the whole project. They can't buy it. They want to throw $5 at you or whatever. We want to give people something for that, though. You can just get your name in the book for $5. Typical thing you do in these Kickstarters. We're actually going to provide it, and again, I have to make sure I can do this in the backer kit the way I think I can. But part of the drop-down menu will be which faction do you support for that $5 and above. So we're going to get a vote from whoever backs the next project on. Do you support the Illuminati, the Dragon, the Templar, and then we're going to lump all their names into the groups and see who has the most.
Well, who's going to win. It's going to be the Illuminati.
Well, maybe I'll skew the results. No, I can't do that.
I was going to say, I would actually say...
We'll know by the name count.
My guess is Templar, to be honest. But
they're the most organized.
Yeah.
No. But yeah, it's been a learning curve, and I hope that each project we do gets better. I mean, I know what I want to do. I think I'm changing my mind a little bit about what I want to do for the next book. I'm thinking about doing a bunch of adventures, or what they call a plot point campaign for Savage Worlds or whatever. Some small adventures, big adventures, and a bestiary. Only because you have the base book. A lot of people don't know how to write adventures. They can run them, but they don't know how to make them. They'd rather run something written. And I think we could really explore and add to the world through these different adventures, different areas, different locations, and give a whole bunch more creatures and things to fight, so that it gives you more of the toolkit to play the game, and then keep expanding the world and the locations. But we'll decide what's going to work best between now and the next book, which the next book will not be until next year sometime. So soon. But the next one will be, if things go well with this, the next book will probably be written before we even do the Kickstarter. So there will not be pay us now so we can write it, which we had to do. We didn't have any foundation.
Right.
So the next one will be, it'll be written in. We'll already have we already have a trade dress design, the way the graphics look in the book, so that saves time and money too. So it'll really just come down to, write this stuff out. If we do a book that's 150 pages, is also a third of the work that went into this. So let me see. Yeah. That guy, he's been around, annoyed me. I mean, being my friend for the last, I don't know, 5-6 years for Kinder Mage. He saw my stuff for Saints and Sinners, is where he got latched on to our group, and he's kind of been a fan of that ever since. But he's been around with me for a while, along with another couple of guys that have been around since we started this crazy stuff.
Nice.
He's like I like to call a good sucker. I mean, a good friend.
They're the best kind.
Yeah.
Well,
met him once at a convention in Wichita.
A faithful audience.
Yes. Well, it looks like it's the witching hour for me, and I've talked a lot, so I hope I didn't overwhelm you guys or anything with all my
No,
talk.
you didn't.
Oh gosh, no. If it weren't anything, thank you for coming on. We are always happy to talk about any projects relating to Secret World, but especially this one because it's so cool. Like I was looking through the the PDF because I said it's you can download it, you can go through it.
Mm-hmm.
It's done. Going through all the artwork, going into the back, but I got to the part in the very, very back. It's got all the listing of all the backers and all the backers' names that they wanted to put down. And I was like, man, there's some people who was like, oh, my name is Chester Willingham, Arthur, the White Knight of Denver. I don't know. Like, they just the name that they've picked is like 5 or 6 different names in a row with like the one in quotes and then and here I just chose Ocho and I'm like I've got like the smallest name possible.
We'll totally give you the option in the Savage Worlds book to put a bigger name in it if you want to. There you go.
Right, that's right.
Ocho's out here saving money on ink.
That's right. That's what I'm doing.
Thank you.
I was like, everyone, because I was like, my name's gotta be up there somewhere. And yeah, no, sure enough, I found it. Of course, it's in there. But it's just like I don't know, squeezed between like 2 other like giant names. Like,
well, that's the thing. It's like because your name is so small, you can quickly look through and say, oh, boom, there it is, because it's
that word's
take
big.
less
It
space.
can't be my name. Highlight your name. All right, guys. It was really a pleasure talking to you.
I might be.
It always is, and hopefully we can talk again soon.
Oh, of course. Thank you for
always,
coming by.
Always a pleasure to have you. Thank you very much. Brandon from Star Anvil Studios, coming out with the tabletop RPG 5th edition for Secret World, and also coming out with a Kickstarter up and coming for Savage Worlds for Secret World as well. Thank you very much for coming on the show, Brandon. Much appreciated. Always a pleasure to talk to you, and we hope you have a good rest of your evening.
Thanks, guys.
All right, have a good one.
Take it easy. The time is now 11:11.
Works out perfectly like that.
No, like legitimately. I need to get that on a soundboard thing.
You do. I'm surprised you haven't already.
Orochi Tower. And every time I see that it's 11:11, it just plays in my head. The time is now 11:11.
11:11. Yeah, I mean, you do that pretty much on every stream you do. You just say it.
Because we always stream past 11.
Mm-hmm.
But what's weird is like that just happens to me when I look at the clock. Because I'm not paying attention to it.
It's ingrained in your brain to
my brain's not doing that on purpose.
It's a habit.
Well, it's much like when he opened the book and it just happened to be the double page spread with the dragon character in the middle. Like these things happen.
They happen. They do. Absolutely. So no, that was it's always so cool to have them on to talk about the book. I'm always learning something. Like I said, I knew nothing about Savage Worlds. So
I don't know anything about that one specifically, but like I've played enough different random systems that
it just happens.
I don't think it matters Like what matters is the people playing,
Mm-hmm.
and the intent.
Mm-hmm.
That's what matters. The system is just a framework.
Yeah.
And any good GM is going to bend the framework anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I don't know, when people get hung up on a specific like rule set or system or version, I'm just like, you're being way too rigid
Was it
in your head.
pedantic?
Like it's not that kind of game, right?
Yeah.
Like it's
you're just being contrarian. You just want to argue for the
no,
sake
it's
of
not even
arguing.
contrarian. It's just like, oh, it's this system, so I must do it this way. Well, you're playing with a dipshit GM then. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
any good game runner will bend things where necessary, or take
Where it
inspiration
makes it,
from other things or other systems, or I don't
what
know.
I say, like don't take away the coolness. Like, you know, let your players, you know, you do want it to stick within reason. You do want to stick within whatever, but it's like,
I definitely have played with people that like went way too hard on the power fantasy, and it honestly gets like not fun.
yeah.
I had way more fun with my coworker that originally got me into tabletop stuff, who was just absolutely ruthless. Like just would straight up murder you in a bar fight. Like, man, you pick the fight. I don't know what you want from me.
That's right. It's your fault, really. Yeah.
Like,
you're the one who decided to pick the fight with 20 guys. Listen, I'm not.
Like, you get shit loot the whole game. You finally somehow manage to survive the end of like a 3-month real-time like adventure, right? And you get to the end, and there's finally like what they had done is like in D&D, whatever version it was, you're supposed to get like a certain amount of loot, and he just put that off. Like it ends up being like in the boss's cave at the end or something. But even that, like maybe not half, but a good chunk of that shit was like cursed, or sat in the cave so long it decayed into something else. So it was supposed to be a bag of holding, but it was instead was a bag of devouring. So you stuck your arm in there and pulled out half of a skeleton arm.
Yeah.
You know, someone put on a pair of boots, and they were the acid one to like latch onto your legs, and now you can't take the boots off anymore.
Be like, well, I gave you loot.
Got a cool belt that like gave you like +6 strength or something, but like they put it on and it changed their gender. Like that was our good loot. that was all we got. Was
troll
that
loot.
Shit. And he straight up killed characters. Like you had to have at least one spare character already written up if you wanted to be playing, because that shit would happen. But it was way more fun than I played like Warhammer Fantasy with someone, which system wise, I mean, again, I don't think systems matter as much as some people seem to think. But the person running it, like, it was way more power trippy, right? Like everyone was playing like practically like a chosen one of some kind, right? And like at some point in the adventure, we're like slaying gods or some shit, and it's like, all right, guys, this is a little ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, you think we're playing maybe a little?
I think we might have power crept
here
a little too much, because now like nothing's really interesting anymore. You know,
I used to talk with somebody, and yeah, they would be telling me like stuff about their World of Darkness campaigns.
Yeah,
and yeah, same thing. They're like, well, you know, we're fighting on top of skyscrapers and like, you know, 1,000 vampires, and it's like, and we're just wiping them out. Like, what is this? What is this? What?
They shouldn't be. That's not how World of Darkness works.
Something like that. But it's like,
maybe it depends who's running it, right? Because the person running it makes a big difference, and they can just bend things how they want. My first introduction to tabletop wasn't even D&D. It was Werewolf the Apocalypse. And yeah, we were constantly getting screwed over. That has like werewolves and vampires in it, right? Because there's the same company does Vampire the Masquerade, right?
Okay,
But
yeah.
Werewolf of the Apocalypse, right? There's vampires in it as well because the werewolves are always like fighting the vampires, and like silver was a problem. But then I decided to make my character someone that, for whatever reason, like likes having silver. So I don't remember exactly what I was thinking, but I had a werewolf character that like carried silver bullets or some shit, which in that system like basically gave me negative attributes kind of all the time. You know, it's the equivalent of a vampire walking around with a crucifix on his neck, like just because. I like to feel the pain searing into my chest.
I just want to feel something.
Feel like I'm just yeah, I just like the
because
pain.
you can as a werewolf in that system, you can have a certain amount of silver on you, but it like has like a negative effect, and too much, and you just kind of like fall over. But my guy was always like halfway there already. But I do you have a mage turn your werewolf into a slug? There was massive communication problems, and I do remember towards the end of the campaign that in some kind of weird miscommunication, there was a machine that we were supposed to turn on that was going to prevent the end of the world, and instead we somehow thought that was the machine that was going to cause the end of the world, so we smashed it to smithereens.
You're like, well,
we smashed it to smithereens, pissed on it as werewolves, and then buried it in the ground. And then eventually got told, like, oh, actually, the world's going to end now because you guys broke the machine that was going to save the world. So we had to go dig it back up and try and clean the werewolf piss off of it and patch it back together.
Like, sorry, it was the whole thing. Like, you have to apologize to the machine.
It was like I can't remember. I distinctly can picture the guy's face, but his character was getting information and he's supposed to relay it to the group, but he was getting it like in notes from the game master, you know, because like he had like a contact in the game, and so he just somehow misunderstood the information he was getting. And so he relayed it to us improperly. It was a really bad game of telephone that basically nearly ended the world.
I mean, it could
smash, grenade, bury, as werewolves do. Exactly.
As werewolves
do. It was. We were like high fiving. We were like super happy. Like we did it. And he's like,
did it, guys.
So, yeah, about that. So I think he somehow.
Like,
I think the game master had like the contact. Like called up that guy's cell phone or something. It was like, hey, by the way, just to be clear, what I said was this. Oh shit.
That's amazing.
But yeah, like to me, like anyone stuck in the system, it, like I don't know, man. That's a video game. You're playing it like a video game then. Right? Like I can't change the physics in Secret World.
Yeah.
Right? They work how they work. But a tabletop game, that's a recommendation printed on paper. You can do whatever the fuck you want in your head. Like that's the purpose of doing it, is you can flex. So I don't know.
And that's why part of my idea was, or part of my I guess one of the points I was trying to get across is that having more, and I don't think I actually really got this point across well tonight, but the point is that having more in for an IP that you enjoy, having more, even if it's not great, even if the more stuff is not like the best thing ever, it's okay because it's expanding the world that you love. It's expanding it, even if it's not the best, and so you can't always expect it to be the absolute greatest. It's like I can't change the physics, but the ceiling is lava, rabbit.
I can change my perception of the physics. I can put my monitor upside down.
It's the idea that like, you know, as a fan of Star Trek, as a fan of Lord of the Rings, you know, we've had a lot of stuff come out that it's like, is it the greatest thing ever? No, of course it's not. Is it the worst thing ever? No, it's also not the absolute worst. Could it have been better? Could it be, you know? either talk about any of the new Star Trek shows or even like the Lord of the Rings show, people are like, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing ever. It's the one that Amazon made. And yeah, it could be better. It could absolutely be better. But the fact that it exists has enriched the entire thing. Just that it exists.
It's a stain on the reputation.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Some people will say that, yes. But
yeah, right.
But the real thing is like, so in Secret World, it's like, okay, so we're getting this book filled with lore that it's like, is it the lore? Is it canonized lore? No, of course not. It's it's not in the game itself, which is considered the canon. Anything that's in the game is canon. But so it's not exactly perfect canon. It's not exactly whatever, but it expands. It's expanding things. It's taking ideas. It's taking characters we haven't
helped
thought
work
about.
on it. That's enough for me.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. He had a hand in creating this.
Gives it a bunch of legitimacy. Yeah, absolutely. And so so you have to take that into account as well and say like, oh, well, I don't think what's his name, Zuberi should be as important of a character as he is. Well, it's tabletop, so you don't have to make him that way. But like, this all was looked over by Scriv, and Scriv put in his 2 cents, and he wrote some things and this and that, so he came up with a whole bunch of it too. So just because you don't like it or you don't think it's up to a certain standard, that doesn't mean it's not completely. It doesn't have value. It has a lot of value because it is taking the world that we love and it is expanding it. And I think that is a point that I think a lot of people miss. For a lot of fiction,
the same thing with like the spin-off games, right? Like the Park or Hide and Streak or like Moons, right? I'm always like, hey, don't sleep on these. And like anything, like there's some people that like seem to like all they want is like the next chapter of Secret World Legends. And I genuinely am like, well, it would be neat to get like Congo, right? It would be neat to get a next thing, but
absolutely.
There's not really an end. It was designed as an MMO. They have lots of story beats. They kind of know where it's going, but like, it's not intended to have a conclusion. What MMO writes an ending?
Yeah, MMOs don't end.
That's not the point of them.
They just keep going, yeah.
But I just want to see more stuff in the universe, right? Like any game, right? Like any game, any book, any role-playing game, Secret World trading card game, please. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
amazing, yeah.
Like, I don't care. I just want more stuff in the setting because I like the setting. And some people hyper focus on like TSW what is the best version, or SWL is crap because they're fucking stupid. But or Legends has the extra story, but it's missing this thing, and like no one bought that fucking issue anyways. Shut up. Or at least not enough of you. So like I don't know, like I just want more in the setting. I don't need Legends to ever get an update. I'm happy with Legends.
Yeah.
It'd be nice, sure. It'd be cool. I'd love it. But if it never gets an update, I'm okay. But what I would hate to see is the IP not get used. I want to see more stuff in the setting.
It would suck if it just stagnated. Yeah, if they just held on to this and just didn't do anything with it, then it's like, oh my gosh, like come on.
Yeah,
and that's a great thing that we see this stuff happening.
Indication that they're willing to do stuff, right? Tabletop alone. I mean, the books is one thing, right? But that's a different. I think the tabletop is a different level. It's one thing to license and be like, okay, you can write some non-canon fiction, which is really cool that they did that as well. Don't get me wrong, but like, it's another level up to be like, oh, you can do a tabletop game. Like that's another tier in my head of like, and then obviously like Moons, right? They're publishing this game. And like, actually, you know what? This fits what we have over here. Use this. Hire the Scriv guy, why don't you? They used to work for us. Hire the Scriv guy on your team, and we're publishing it for you anyways. But we really think this would help, kind of boost both things. You leverage our IP, so you're not
boost things up, right? Because what did Moons of Madness start as? It started basically as a not a
I mean, it started
simulator.
really similar. Like it was a space like sci-fi horror.
Yeah,
game.
it was something that they basically said, here is a product that we kind of already have, and Funcom was like, hey, why don't we make that Secret World?
Yeah, it's a really good fit. You've got
Yeah.
this sort of sci-fi horror creepy monster shit in space. Filth is really good for any of that. Right? Let's try and do some world building here, and it'll take your game out from being a generic, spooky thing to actually having like just immediately more backstory, right? Immediately there's just more gravitas to it.
And something that people can enjoy just on its own. But also, if you play Secret World and you play Moons of Madness, you're like, holy crap!
Tons of shit.
You're like, oh my god!
Dude, the way they layered that shit is so good, good. The way they layered everything in there is so great. Because if you've never heard of Secret World and you play that, it's still a great Lovecraftian spooky thing. Because the Lovecraft shit, like pretty much anyone into spooky stuff knows anyway.
It's like the point that the point that I always get to is that when you get down into the very bottom of the facility, and you find the badge, you find the
sound plays.
The security badge, and the sound plays, and it's just like, and you see whose badge it is.
You see whose badge it is, like, and when you see whose badge it is, it's like the bell, like the sound that plays instinctually. Anyone that's played Secret World is like,
yeah,
I achieved something. Holy shit!
Anyone who has it is like, okay, all right, yeah, this guy. Who's this guy? Oh, it's just the next level of whatever I need in order to get into the system. Okay, but if you're like, oh my gosh, like
it's such a good reveal because it had mainly that sound. Whoever decided to put that sound effect in there, like, oh my god, that was perfect.
Yes, yeah, good.
That was
good
perfect.
Job. Good job.
Because to anyone that's not played Secret World, you found an important badge in it, like, oh, that's a cool sound. But if you've played Secret World, that shit is mind-blowingly awesome.
And it's like that's what I mean. Like we got Moons of Madness. Moons of Madness itself is just a good property by itself. It's a good game by itself. But the fact that it's expanding Secret World, it's expanding the Secret World universe. It's like that's even better. That adds so much more context. It adds so much more to it.
Yeah, I would love to see them do. And the fact that we got an
expanded world, amazing.
Like any kind of other game, or just their publishers publish a different game and publish another game and have it use the IP. You know what I mean?
And right now, Funcom is working on Dune Awakening. It's working still on Conan Exiles.
They're going hard. They did the.
They have to. Yeah, of course they are. Yeah.
Well, they did. Have we had a show since their trailer with Zoe and Bylos?
No, I was gonna mention that of the other things we have to discuss.
The direct, which I guess they're supposed to have like a series of the directs.
Yeah, they said this is the first of many.
This is the first direct with Zoe Geschwind.
Yeah, so that was awesome for me because I'm a big Overwatch League, even though Overwatch League is now dead and now it's Overwatch CS. But yeah, same thing. Like it's the esport. Yeah, she's the main host for Overwatch.
She was like the face of Overwatch League.
She's like literally the face of Overwatch League.
Yeah.
So I didn't recognize her, but that's because I never was in Overwatch.
I literally would probably see her like every weekend, basically when the match.
And she's been in the esports scene for like over a decade.
Yeah. So for me to see Zoe, I'm like, wait, what? Holy shit!
Yeah. And if just to go into this because I do have a point on this. Yeah, Dune Awakening had its first direct showcase March 4th, hosted by Zoe Geschwind, as I'm assuming that's how it's pronounced. I don't know. Interviewing Joel Bylos, basically. The full show is now available on YouTube, showing never before seen footage, a new trailer, and explanations on some of the game's mechanics. Like they were going into how, like, when you start off, you could do crafting, you could do the crafting to build a base, a la Conan Exiles.
My favorite part was the hydration.
Yes, yeah, because water is very important on Arrakis.
You can eat a bunch of plants, but you'll have to eat a ton to get enough water, and you'll get sick and throw up. Or just kill someone and drink their blood.
and take
Like
the
that
water
whole
out of their blood. Yeah.
that whole interaction in the interview was great.
He's like, that's how I get water. You know, I steal it from the thing. But that's a Dune thing. I made sure I wanted to be in order to prep for this. I did read through the first Dune novel, also because they were releasing the movies at the same time. I do want to have some basis.
Sure.
And I like going to the source material first. So I read the first Dune book. It is hefty. It is like 800 something pages. It is a hefty novel. And so having that still fresh in my mind, it's interesting to see all these things that are like, oh, and how we're doing with Dune Awakening, and certain things like that they're already addressed. They've already addressed two things I've seen, and one was they're like sand walking. And so in order to avoid the sandworms, you have to like walk in this like pattern that's
Well, not a pattern. It's just non-rhythmic.
this sort of like non-rhythmic, but it's like
Mhm.
basically you make yourself out to basically be like a mouse on the sand, or like a something rolling across the dude. Like you basically are part of nature as you walk across the sand, so as not to attract the sandworms. And I think Bylus was basically like, we couldn't make that work, man. It looks too dumb. It's really, we could not make that. We just couldn't do it. It just looks too stupid. Or another thing that was like, there are these laser guns. They just call them
Oh,
laser
there's a
guns.
big kerfuffle about the guns and the shields.
Yes, and it's supposed to be like when a laser gun hits a shield, it produces a nuclear explosion. It
That's just
produces
stupid, by the way.
So in the novel, it's like, I was like, oh, do you see they're using shields? Okay, well, we're not gonna do the laser guns then, because it's sort of like a
Right. Well,
mutual destruction sort of thing.
It's basically an excuse to go to bladed combat.
Yes, and to use guns too, and to use other weapons.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just an excuse to not use lasers.
Mm-hmm. And right, and using blades, and using these other systems. And I feel like the writer, what's his name? I forget off the top of my head.
Frank Herbert.
Frank
Yeah,
Herbert.
Frank
Yeah,
Herbert, yeah.
and he put that in as sort of like when was the book written, in the 1960s? That was sort of like a Cold War sort of analogy to.
Well, yeah, it's a nuclear deterrent, right? Like you don't.
Yeah.
No one does this because it would just destroy everything.
And it does happen at one point in the book. It does happen where they're like, oh, we left them a surprise, and it was basically because also on Arrakis, if you use a shield on the sand, that attracts sandworms as well.
Right.
So really, like the Fremen aren't using shields because shields attract the sandworms. So the Harkonnen, or Harkonnen, as the movie pronounces it, that was the thing too, is I was making up all the pronunciations in my head, and then
Right.
watched the movie, and I was like, oh, that's how that's pronounced. Okay.
Yeah, Kinder, I was the same way with I grew up watching the 84 movie.
Uh-huh.
And it is, you can give faces to the characters, like Patrick Stewart is Duncan Idaho, and
What a name, by the way. I
Yeah.
was reading the book and I was like, Duncan, Idaho? I was like,
well, you
what
got
a-
like Paul
what a fucking name that
Atreides, Shawnee,
Clearly,
like,
he
the
was
Duke.
going to a Dunkin' Donuts in Idaho.
Yeah.
I was
Then you got
I was
Duncan
what a-
Idaho.
What an American name that is. I was like, it's great. And who was he played by? Like Jason Momoa or something? Played him in the new movies, and I was like, okay, like his character made a lot more sense that way, because the entire time reading the book, I'm like, what a name that guy has. And it just kind of
So-
like kept throwing me off a little bit.
I will say I thought was interesting from both. I think I talked about it in the direct, but also in the. Oh, I caught the end of like the Unreal presentation they just did. I think it was from GDC.
Yes, I haven't caught up with that one specifically
So
yet.
I saw Bylos in like I don't think I caught the beginning of it, but I caught him introducing talking about some stuff and introducing a thing they showed.
Okay.
But there's some repetitive stuff in from both things.
Mhm.
And I was genuinely surprised, like how much they interacted with the movie team.
Yes. Yeah, there's a
Like the
lot of the
director.
movie in this. Yeah.
Well, he said
Well,
Joel
no. I mean,
said
how much
in the
actually interact
direct.
with like the actual director? Like they're
Mhm.
using the like
Like
Unreal to like
actual.
plan the shots for the movie for like lighting wise.
Mhm.
Like the amount of and then
Or
they
how much
actually having
stuff
like
that
Funcom
yeah.
like on the set and walking around and like
Mhm.
like that amount of integration, like I did not expect that.
I think we're going to actually see a lot more of that. The an example that comes to mind for me is that in the latest season of Star Trek Picard, they actually went to the makers of Star Trek Online and they said, "Hey, uh you guys have all these new ships that you guys have made for the game.
Yeah.
Can we just, have some of
Borrow
them?
one.
Yeah, can we just have a few of them? Because like we're gonna need it. We're gonna have a scene that's gonna have like a whole bunch of different ships. So you guys already have Star Trek model
Right, it's already
ships
3D
made.
modeled.
Yeah. So it's like, can we
Yeah.
just have that and then we'll put it in the show and basically canonize these ships that you have made as part of the show? And I think we're gonna see a lot more of that just because of
Well,
that.
the tech's overlapping, I think. That's
Exactly,
part of
yeah.
it.
The tech of making the movies and making the shows is getting very similar to the making of video games, and they're using all kinds of like the same models and this and that. So it's like, yeah, I think we're going to see a lot more crossover.
Well, I saw in the direct. I think what they were using is the Unreal Engine for the background scene, and
Mhm.
pretty much the set where they were sitting
Well,
was all.
specifically the part I'm talking about with the director, he was literally talking about. I think they were doing it. I could be wrong, but it sounded like, at least for one of the things he was talking about, that they're actually going to shoot it like they're in the desert. They're going to shoot it in
Mhm.
the desert, right? But they needed
Mhm.
to model like where to have people, where to put their reflectors,
Mhm.
um, in real life, right? Because they wanted to be able to time. Okay, the sun's moving,
Yeah,
shadows are
yeah.
going, things are happening. We put these reflectors here. The actor standing here. Can we get like this things to fall like where we want them to? And they're
Mhm.
using the engine to basically like set up the shot before going out in the desert for real and going like, okay, now we know, we have it planned out. Go here, stand here, do this.
Right. Stand exactly here, and
Put
at
put these
exactly this
reflectors
time,
over
we'll get the effect
here.
we want. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there was some level of that
Okay.
from what I saw, which is really cool. I mean,
That's
obviously,
awesome.
it just makes sense if you can pre-plan something, if you can pre-model something, right?
Mhm.
Um, can we CGI sunlight? I
Sure.
mean, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
but I think there's
yeah.
also something to be said for like CGI. See, like obviously you can do a lot of post work on a movie, and they do a lot of post work,
Mhm.
but there is something to be said about just getting it right like on film. Like the less you have to do that, like it's one thing to do like color correction and things like that, but the less you have to actually like make up, I think like a lot of times
Isn't
like
that
it's just better.
yeah, isn't that sort of like the idea for like the latest Mandalorian stuff where
Yeah, it's
um
all in the volume that it's all using NVIDIA technology, and then that's how they can get everything is all like the reflections are because it's basically this huge LED dome that you're acting in.
or yeah, or you're acting basically in front of a screen. You're acting in front of like a giant circular screen or something, and you could just put whatever effect you want in the background. But I even
Oh, they
mean
did
like
that.
in Mandalorian, they're even bringing back like they're like let's bring
What did they
like
make?
let's make a Muppet. Let's make Muppets for these things, and people will love it because they'll see it, and it's like it isn't just a visual effect. It isn't just um the character is or that they're showing is like completely not there or something like that. They're like, no, it's a still live model that we're just working with.
Yeah, like with Grogu, because it's
Exactly.
it's an actual puppet, so people have more like they can interact with it and treat it as another actor, holding
The
it.
guys that did the show Dark. I don't know if you guys have seen that. It's a German
Yes.
show.
Hmm.
They did 1899.
Okay. I've heard of 1899.
Scratch, you'll never be out of a job.
No,
There's
you're
always
never.
going to be a lot
First
of
of all, no one's
post-production.
ever right, and secondly, you're about to log out there, Waffle.
No, I'm not.
But secondly,
Oh, no.
like, I think even if you do everything right, you still have post-production. Like, you still have color correction. You still have like other things you have to do in post, even
Splicing,
if things are
yeah.
mostly right, from my understanding at least. But what I was saying is, so the guys that did Dark did another series called 1899.
Okay, that's on.
And I saw the
Paramount
behind the
Plus.
scenes on that, and that used what Waffle's talking about, the volume, where like it's like a virtual stage. Like, it's crazy. Like, the amount that they can just render like real time basically is crazy.
Either either basically you're just in a stage that is one like gigantic green screen with like, I don't know, maybe some.
Well, it's not even a green screen. It's
not a screen, it's not a
LED panels.
green screen.
Or it's
you're
LED
seeing
panels,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's way easier to act with because it's there.
Yeah, you can
Yes.
see what you're looking at. It's like, oh,
So, like-
there's
so,
going to be a
like,
ship that comes over here. It's
they,
like, oh yeah, I can see the ship.
So when they look across the ocean and see some ship in the distance, the actor's looking across the ocean and seeing a ship in the distance.
And seeing a ship in the distance, right? Okay. I think they use that sort of stuff on the last season of Star Trek Discovery too. Yeah, that where it's like a giant a giant circular screen essentially.
By the way, if you haven't seen Dark, see that shit. It's amazing.
I'll say that I have not. I will make a note of that.
And then 1899 is from the same people, and that one's so Dark is German. So like subtitles.
Okay.
But it's so I've actually
It's good.
I've watched it like twice.
Okay.
Yeah, you kind of have to, because you kind of like miss some things. It's like, oh, okay, that explains.
Yeah,
this.
there's a lot going on in that show. But they also did a show called 1899, which is really interesting because obviously like Dark was German, right? But 1899 is really interesting because it's on a ship,
Okay.
kind of like a Titanic kind of thing, right? But everyone on the ship is speaking like whatever language their country they're from. So you have this ship going across the ocean that has like Italian people and French people and Japanese people, right? And they're all speaking their language. And some of them speak more than one language, but some of them don't. And you're getting subtitles in all the different languages, but the characters have problems talking to each other sometimes during the things because they literally don't understand each other.
Right.
And also from the behind the scenes, it turns out neither did the actors sometimes, because they got actors and some of them didn't speak more than like, so they literally, not only were the characters fragmented in the show due to their languages, but the actual cast was somewhat as well. And they have like different like handlers working with people to like work these scenes out. It was really, really cool. It felt very immersive. Like you're like, this is the time period. This is just a smorgasbord of different cultures. Like, they all go to dinner and like they're all just little groups have formed and they're conversing, and there'll be like one person that can kind of be a link because they happen to know some of the other language or whatever. And then some of them, and then shit goes crazy and weird stuff happens, and then you're like, why am I running? I don't know. I'm following that person because they're running, and you can't understand what they're saying to you about the horrible thing coming to kill you or something because you don't speak the same language. Like,
it's cool.
Dude, that show was a trip. Yeah, I'm down for anything those directors make. Like,
okay. Yeah, 1899 has been on my radar for as a show to watch.
Alone, it's just super interesting. It's not something I've ever seen. I can't recall ever seeing that being done. But it's obviously a reality, right? Like, it's a reality that you would have struggled with. I mean, people still struggle with it today in modern times, but especially back when that was newer and people were on these voyages for like, it's going to take you 6 months to get somewhere. And you just have a cruise liner full of people that are like segregated literally by culture and language. And have no idea what the other person's saying. No, it was really cool. Yeah, and Dark is just fucking like the crazy shit. Dark is amazing on like many levels.
I really have to check that out.
So I think Dark is Waffle is Dark's 3 seasons.
I want to say yes.
What is it on?
Netflix.
Netflix? Okay.
Yeah, it was a Netflix show.
And I'm also pissed at Netflix because 1899 was canceled after 1 season.
Yeah. I mean, luckily it kind of.
We're not going to say anything.
No, I'm just saying,
I thought that was Paramount.
I'm not going to spoil it, but I'm saying luckily it kind of does sort of bookend itself. Like, obviously, you'd want to know more. I want to know more, but it does kind of, like, there's some shows that end where you're like, what the fuck? That was in the middle.
Yeah.
I do feel like they hit like a point, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Where you're like, yes, a sequel would be awesome.
Like
but
Inside Job, Dark Matter.
Oh my gosh.
But at least something like, at least it closed. You know what I mean? Like, at least there was some sense of, we started here, we ended up here, we now see there's all this to go, but the initial thing has kind of like more or less resolved. But yeah, 3 seasons. Dark is 3 seasons.
And it's only like 10 episodes or something. It's
I think
it's
it's
good.
like 10 a season, I think, something like that.
Okay, so more modern seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
it's not like 20 something episodes.
It's I think I binged all of Dark in like 3 days or something.
Yeah, I think I did the same thing too. I was like,
like, it's so good. And then I found 1899 like specifically because it was by the same people. I'm like, I need to see what these guys make. So I found 1899 after that. And supposedly they're going to be working on an adaptation of Something is Killing the Children. Which I think is a comic book. Yeah, it's a comic book. I thought so.
Okay.
It's wow. It's a comic book that's won 3 Eisner Awards. Some good writing in there.
I'm trying to look up anything on my computer right now, and like nothing wants to load. I don't know what's going on.
that's because you turned off all the microphone stuff.
I think it tried to fix my microphone stuff. Like even Chrome is like, you want to load a website? Sorry, man, not happening.
You need a microphone.
Like all the websites you got are
anyways,
there.
The whole reason I derailed onto that is because that was the first time I actually saw what Waffle's talking about with the volume stuff, is like the behind the scenes on 1899. But yeah,
and it's really interesting to see how they filmed stuff, because it's not just, it's what the camera is looking at. So when you're standing there in the volume, like the background will change depending on where the camera is pointing at. So it's kind of it keeps that, how was it, not the aspect ratio, but you know, so it doesn't seem like, oh, they're standing in front of a screen. It makes it feel like they're standing in front of whatever it is.
You're standing on a boat in the ocean, or you're standing on a field, like because you can see it, like it's there. And I think they still have like physical props and stuff. Like
well, the thing is, like with say with the Mandalorian, because the character in the Mandalorian, his armor is very reflective. So normally, like anything else, it would be like green screen. And Ocho is coming back in. Welcome back.
Testing.
So instead of like you're working, instead of like just the green reflecting and having someone going in with post production scratch and having to actually like do the process of slapping or copying and pasting the scene on the armor, it's reflective. It's right there, so you don't have to do that.
Yeah. So we're taking Scratch's job one thing at a time.
One thing at a time.
Sorry, Scratch. Just
And then we're going
Listen,
to use AI.
You'll always be there to remove those Starbucks cups that people keep leaving around the goddamn set.
Oops.
leave them in, and give stuff people to find. Sorry, I had a whole bunch of tabs open, and what it was is Chrome just decided to crash. That's what happened.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I was like, I can't load anything. I wonder why. Yeah, Chrome's crashing. That's why.
But yeah, anyways, Dune. They're at. I think I don't know if GDC wrapped up, but they're also going to be at PAX.
Yep.
Like
PAX
they're on like tour. They're on a press tour right now.
Whirlwind tour.
I was gonna say this is actually watching Funcom. Basically because we hadn't had a lot of information about Dune Awakening before this, but that's just because they were just sort of waiting for the movie to come out and basically all the hype surrounding the movie and to kind of ride that wave, which they are doing.
Yeah.
Why we're seeing this massive influx of Dune stuff is because they're just basically capitalizing on the movie, which is what you would want them to do, which is why you would,
ride those coattails.
That is, yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, they just day one of PAX East just wrapped. Looking at their Twitter right now. Also, poor Tasha.
Yeah.
Like her flight, her travel / luggage situation was just very, very cursed. It was very cursed.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Yeah, these people need to move over to like Blue Sky or Threads or Mastodon or something.
Oh no, I see. If one of the first things is right. Are you tired about my travel drama yet? Sorry if you are, but oh, good news, they found it, and it's on a flight to San Francisco today. The bad news, they can't guarantee I will get the luggage delivered at the hotel here before I need to leave for Boston tomorrow. Oh my gosh,
it's
lost luggage, man. It's a nightmare.
That's why I say only do carry on.
It wasn't just that. It was, I think it started with their flight because it was like 0 degrees, snowing.
Okay.
All their flights were canceled. They told her to rebook a canceled flight, and then an hour on the phone tells you to go to the counter where you stand in line for 2 hours to get a number machine that's out of order, telling you to call the number from the first thing. and then the other flight was delayed because the pilots that were supposed to fly it were trapped at the other airport that was supposed to fly in. They got rebooked multiple times. And when they got, when she finally got out there, like their luggage was a problem. Oh, trains were canceled. Like her whole feed, like since
it's just been one nightmare after another.
Since like March 16th. It's just been like one long chain of like, holy fuck.
Oh man. Sorry, Tasha. It's rough. So rough.
Also, how am I getting the luggage delivered to Boston if it arrives at the hotel after I left? So
Magic.
Like she gets to one stop and then she goes to the next one and her luggage catches up to the other one.
And then it has to connect again, right, to where she's actually going to. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare.
So eventually
scenario.
when she gets home, a couple days later, it'll come home.
She's like, she has to contact the airport where it's just going to be on like the carousel, just going around and around and around, and be like, could you get it? And I'm no longer there. At that point, you just be like, take that and mail it to my home. I will deal with it later. I've already learned how to deal with it. How to deal with no luggage. I'll be fine.
Oh man, poor Asha. That's rough.
It is.
Looks like the conventions have been pretty good though.
Yep.
Still not in the beta, in case anyone's curious.
Yeah.
Still hasn't happened. I got an email I had was from Funcom, and I was like, "Oh, Funcom!" And then it was generic Dune announcement for like the Dune direct.
It was like, "Hey,
Yeah,
have you heard about Dune Awakening?"
I saw like a week earlier. I was like, "God damn it!"
You're like, "Yes, I've seen about Dune Awakening."
I think it was like Funcom. You see Funcom and Dune. I'm like, oh, you open it up.
Did I get an email? Nope. Just fuck me.
Thanks for letting me know about the direct I watched. But okay.
Like a week ago.
just a couple more things I wanted to get to. These were just extra sort of things. One, Dune Spice Wars is the DICE Awards. I'm sorry, I didn't write this. Oh no. Dune Spice Wars, is the DICE Awards Strategy Simulation Game of the Year.
Wow.
Dune Spice Wars wanted the DICE Awards, which is awesome. And that Dune Spice Wars also released an expansion pack for Dune Spice Wars called House Vernius of Ix, which I just read the book. I just read the first book, and nowhere do they mention this faction. Here I find out they're like 2 or 3, 4 books down the line. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, who? Who are these guys? Who? Oh, it's down. It's further book. That's fine. But they released that March 7th. Along with a free update, Heroes of Dune, and Heroes of Dune brings hero units to the game, which is
oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So there's like 2 heroes for each faction, I think, that you could acquire, and they changed stuff up, and they're an actual the hero unit. So you can get. Is Paul one of them?
Oh my god, that was another thing that was in the. There was the lasers and the shields thing, and then there was the whole like you're not going to be the Messiah or some shit.
Yeah, you're not the chosen one.
Oh yeah, you're not the chosen one.
I'm like,
People
yeah,
gosh, good.
Yeah, good. Like, frankly,
it's an MMO.
Barely works in Secret World, and Secret World's actually written to have like. Yes, Gaia has activated a whole bunch of bees, and it still kind of barely works because it's really hard to have 1,000 chosen ones doing the same quest. It doesn't really work.
Yes.
Right? Like, it's a better fit in Secret World than most other games just because it is written that there's more than one of you, and the characters do mention that, like, like with the Ancilis, one of you guys will get it right. Like,
one of my
they mention there's multiple of you. But you can't all have beaten Beaumont. That doesn't make sense, right? Like, one of you fought Beaumont, not... I mean, it might make sense if, like,
my characters fought Beaumont.
Together. That might actually make more sense. But
just everyone perpetually fights Beaumont. Beaumont's like, God damn it.
Well, it's multiversal.
I can't get a hit in. They keep bum rushing me.
That's one of my favorite lines is right. When he's like, it's like, you brought me the Ancile of Mars, and he's like, this is good. It's a fake, but it's a really good fake, and he throws it over the side.
Yeah, like a pile.
One of you will get it right. One of you will get it eventually.
I'll eventually get it right. So like it's written.
That's amazing.
Its core story revolves around Gaia has activated bees en masse, right, to deal with the upcoming as like antibodies to deal with the upcoming apocalypse stuff, and even that like it doesn't work very well.
Okay.
But it would make 0 sense in a thing like Dune for everyone to be playing the singular Messiah.
But yet many MMOs do that. Many MMOs are basically like, you are. It's you. You're the chosen one.
No. MMOs will say, other ones will say like you're the chosen one, right? And be singular, but everyone else is running around thinking they're the chosen one. But this is specifically your Paul.
Yeah,
right.
Yes,
like it doesn't make any sense. There can't be 10,000 of you running around the server being Paul.
It's like,
I'm
it's like
Paul Atreides.
someone playing like Lord of the Rings Online and just being like, "Well, I'm Legolas." So and how many elf characters you have named like Legolas
Blast
with yeah. Here it says
eggs.
the characters of Dune now walk the sands of Arrakis. After reaching 10,000 hegemony, each faction can choose between 2 heroes to recruit as a unit that will influence their whole military strategy. House Atreides can choose between Duncan Idaho or Gurney Halleck. House Harkonnen can choose Glosso Rabin or Ayakin Nephud. I do not know those names. The Fremen, I know Rabin, but anyway, the Fremen can choose between Shani or Atheum. These names, man. House Carino, Wensicia Carino, or Captain Aramsham. Maybe these are names that come out in the different books. The Smugglers can choose Drisk or Banerjee, and House Ekaz can choose Whitmore Blood or Elessa Ekaz. So, I mean, I'm sure they didn't make these names up. These are obviously the Fremen, Chani.
I mean, they're made up names, but
they're made up names. Yes,
from the book.
Yeah,
all names are
not
made
in the
up,
first
okay?
book. Yeah, not from the first book, but heroes that were previously counselors have been replaced by 2 new counselors per faction. Oh, you can get young Paul Atreides. Oh, so you can have young Paul in there somewhere.
Why, YP.
YPA. But they've also done a combat rework. Combat systems have been reworked with an emphasis on making army composition deeper and more diverse, with each unit having a role to play without increasing the need to micromanage too much. Sounds good. Stealth rework. We've made stealth a more powerful, advanced mechanic. Stealthy units are no longer detected by everything. They will often remain hidden until their first strike in combat. To detect a stealthy unit before they strike, you have to rely on probe setup, a new village building called monitoring station, or a rare gear or hero effect. Okay, all right. And they've done an Intel mini rework to make Intel operation and faction infiltration more valuable. We remove the production of 1 Intel per non-faction information field. Okay, that's getting a little too much. I haven't played that much to understand what the heck that means. We also restricted data center to regions neighboring an enemy, like the listening post, and reworked the Observatory Mountains special region. It allows you to build both data center and listening post without constraint and increase your productivity by 50%. Okay. All right. But basically the point is, hero characters, hero units.
That's cool.
That's a really cool thing to add. But they also came out with a new expansion, and the expansion is basically a new house.
Yeah.
I didn't say anything as far as like anything extra in it, but it is the new House Vernius of Ix. But when you're playing a game like this, the different houses you play, like it matters. It matters a whole bunch. So yeah, they each play a little differently, and that's a good thing. Other than that, Conan Exiles Age of War Chapter 4 is coming out April 2nd. It includes a Sacred Hunt event, which is basically finding bosses throughout the world, killing the first one, getting a clue as to where the second one is, etc., etc., etc. Expanding purges, fatality animations for each weapon.
Nice.
That's fun. Yeah.
I think they've had them, right?
No, not in Conan Exiles.
Yeah.
No, I think these are specific, like, you're gonna kill someone and it's like the final enemy or something, and it like focuses in and you get this special like animation.
Oh, okay.
Like
I mean,
almost
definitely
like
have like
sort of like a cutscene.
Like you like give something,
Yeah.
They definitely had some kind of fatality in there already.
Oh, they got a lot of fatality, yes, but I think in this case it's more like a zoomed in cinematic thing, yeah. A new battle pass and bazaar, and bizarre, man. And a rework of how you gain experience for the battle pass. This is going to be new. They're removing, not fully, but they're removing the you have to do these very specific things, like, I don't know, kill 10 alligators or harvest 4 plants or pick 10 berries or something. They're removing that, and they're just saying just play as normal. That you will basically level up through the battle pass just by regular play, just by killing anything, just by killing, collecting things, just by whatever you play that gives you experience. You now gain experience to the battle pass as well. But also,
I actually don't like that.
What's that?
I'm gonna be a little odd one out here and say I don't like that.
But also, they do have where you can gain extra experience by still doing the old things.
Okay.
So they'll be like, explore this, kill this guy, some of the more bigger things.
This comes in like ties back into like the other conversations we had about motivation. Right? Like one of the things a battle pass system is good for is motivation to do something that you wouldn't normally do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like I can just keep doing whatever I'm doing, but the battle pass says I need 6 of this flour. Shit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I better go figure out where that flower is and then go fight my way over there and then get them and fight my way back. Like I don't know.
Which I think would be interesting, but in the way in Conan Exiles, it was almost like craft 1 piece of armor and you're just like, okay. And you have like, I don't know.
No, I did it. I actually
6
did that
fiber.
recently.
Yeah. And you go in and you're just like, all right, 6 fiber, done. I crafted like the least piece of armor I could.
I don't know. I think I would have loved to have craft 6 fiber. I don't remember doing a lot of those. Like,
maybe after a certain level.
I even had to do the re-roll thing because my character was lower level and couldn't do some of the ones that were coming up. I was like,
yeah,
there's no way
I couldn't do almost all
happening.
Of them.
Next,
I just recently restarted, and it was like go do this, and I was like, I can't. Go do this, I can't. Pick 10 berries. Okay, I can do that.
Yeah,
I can pick 10 berries.
You can't kill 5 rhino. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Where are the rhinos?
Collect shards of ice, and I'm like, I'm nowhere near fucking ice. Where am I gonna find ice?
Exactly. Yeah. So, but I do like it in general, and I did like that they had the reroll mechanic in it. So
yes. So I think that they're basically, from my understanding, I think they're actually going to have it's going to be like a combination of both. That you can basically do anything, and it helps level up the system. But then there are also you can
boost it.
Yes, you can boost it by basically going and doing the things that it wants you to do, the challenges. Yeah. Which is a good way to do it. I would appreciate that method.
I guess I would only be opposed if it was just if it didn't have any boosts, right? If it was like, we got rid of it altogether, just play, I'd be like, well, now I don't want to play. I have nothing to do.
Yeah. And part of it's like, they're like, go explore this thing, and you're like, there's that thing? Because Conan Exiles doesn't really hold your hand almost at all to tell you where anything is. You have to basically explore it all.
The crafting system, like holy fuck.
Yeah.
That thing
there's a lot of trial and error there.
That thing desperately needs an overhaul, and I don't envy them. I know I have a fair idea of what happened is like they just kept adding more stuff on.
Yes.
And I think they did overhaul it like once a little bit, but I think it needs a bit of a rework on how the whole crafting and like the prerequisites like function, like not how they function, but how they're displayed to you. Because it is how they're very difficult to find things and then figure out what thing you need to do to unlock that thing. Like it's super hard to actually find that, and some of them are.
I agree.
I don't know. It might just be because of the year they were added, or like what stage the game was at when those specific things got added. But some of them are way more disconnected than others. Some of them are. It's more obvious, like, I need this to get this thing, and then other ones
the background color is like red. It's like you can't get it. When it's tan, it's like you can get it because you've unlocked the previous things.
Yeah, but trying to be like, I want this one, but I can't. Well, why? Right? And then like, I think I remember looking at it when I was playing it. I think it doesn't properly tell you that you can't do something because of a level requirement. Like it doesn't easily display to you that part. Like you'll see like, I want to do this, and the prereq is this and this and this. but this middle prereq is like you need to be level 35. Well, fucking
level
tell me
gated.
that. I'm level 15. I'm not going to do that right now.
You're like,
I'm
and
not
I
even
just
gonna
got
do these
this
things
one,
yet.
and I got this one that I needed. I got this one that I needed, and then that one is level 35. So it's like you can't even do any of it until you get to that point. Yeah.
So like the whole thing needs to like the visual interface for it and the way things are linked needs to be like,
almost like
redone.
a tree, almost like a.
It just needs to be redone. Like, and even if you use the same like system, I guess, like the linkage and how it displays needs to be fixed, right? Like even if you're like, we don't want to redo the whole UI, we want to keep using that UI or whatever. Like the organization of it and the how it tells you what thing to do before it, and if it's red, like why the fuck is it red, right? Or display level recs on the actual thing, because figuring out that you can't get it is actually like 15 clicks or something. Like it's.
And this is where I will tout No Man's Skies basically solution to this, and that is that if you have something that has all these other things that you have to unlock before it, which is standard.
That
survival mechanic at this point.
Sure.
That you click on the one thing and it'll tell you in a list. It'll be like, you need this, and it's like, and if you already have all the items for that one thing, you can just craft that one thing, and it'll just be like, and it'll circle down, or
That's
it'll
right.
basically say this, and this is found in this location, and so it's like, oh, okay, all right.
I did like, but
also
I did the beta test for Once Human, right? Played the shit out of that. It's supposed to be. It was supposed to be the end of this month, but I think it's now like the first week of April or something is the next beta.
Okay.
But one thing that was really cool in that one is, with some rare exception, when you're crafting stuff, it'll just pull stuff in from your storage chests.
Yeah.
So you didn't have to have it on you.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of games, if you put it in a chest, you can't actually use it. It's in the chest. Right?
Yeah.
So like, but they made it so like,
Conan Exiles, you have to have it on you. It's like,
yeah, there's like a couple weird exceptions to that. At least there was. Maybe it's a bug and they're fixing it. I'm not really sure. But for the most part, you know, all of your stuff you could separate out in a bunch of different chests and be like, this is ores and this is this and this is that, right? And then you go to build something. It's like, as long as you have it in one of those, it's gonna pull from there. Which I remember in the Dune directly talked about having that same feature in Dune. So Dune is going to have the whole like, if you have the resource, you have the resource thing.
Good. Good.
And they're also doing that co-op building where you can like put a blueprint down, and your buddy can just come along and drop material on it, and just basically fill it up with material until it has enough to create.
And then not only that, and I feel like they learned from this from Conan Exiles, where you could actually take the entire property that you've built, turn the entire thing into a blueprint, and then turn around and sell that blueprint to other players.
I don't know if Once Human has the selling thing, but they definitely had the move your whole base as one, and they had the blueprint thing. They also had the blueprint thing. I just don't know if they did the you can trade it thing or not.
But I think it's because there's such a community in Conan Exiles that's like, you know, you've seen them. It's like a video of how to build this cozy,
build the Taj Mahal. Here's the Taj Mahal.
This city, just this city out in the middle of nowhere. And so you could actually take that whole thing, all the time that you put into doing that, you could take that giant thing and then sell the entire thing just as a blueprint to someone else. That's so cool. It's such a cool idea.
Like, I think it would have a lot of, especially like something like Dune, right, where you probably would see like guilds and stuff, right? Like houses.
I guess. Yeah, that's probably what they're gonna use.
Like, you'd have that sort of like faction kind of thing, or like guild or cabal or whatever. It would make sense. Like, you could be like, hey, you've got a really cool faction. Do you want this like badass castle for your group?
Yeah.
Right. I designed this, and someone be like, I'm buying that for my guild. Here we go.
Yeah, I bought a city.
Resources.
Yeah.
Boom. we got Castle Frankenstein or something.
So cool. Such a cool idea. I would absolutely 100%, because part of like playing Conan Exiles or something, it's like I make my stuff very utilitarian. I'm not a designer.
I make tree forts.
Yeah. It's very like how's my property? It's a square. It's a square, and it's not exciting.
You are a professional with the square brick real buildings.
It's like, and I may put in windows, but that's about as fancy as I get.
Don't forget
like,
the door.
Oh, so you have walls
and ceilings.
I make a tree fort. I climb to the top of the tallest tree and make a platform. And then I accidentally roll off the edge when I'm doing shit. But I don't put like I want the open view.
The open view. I mean, it's a good view. Yeah.
Like I literally build on top of. Also, I have no idea how that will work in the new purge system. Like, I think I might just get screwed and not get.
I think
purge,
it screws you. I want to say I read somewhere that it will actually, like, if there's no footpath to get to where your base is, that they will spawn inside the base.
Well, no, I think that was a problem. I think that was something that was happening. I think that was a bug. I want to say from one of the dev streams, it was like, if you just make your shit unreachable, then the purge just won't go to you, like, at all. Like, it won't spawn, and therefore you don't get the loot. Like, basically, like, you either get engaged in the content or you're not. So if you build your shit in outer space, the purge is not coming to you. You don't get to kill the purge commander and get the loot. Sorry.
Yeah. Like, you gotta build on the ground, man. You gotta play by the rules.
Like I'm sure you can build like on a mountain or something, as long as there's like a way to get there.
As long as there's like a way to get up there, yeah.
Yeah, but I think for mine though,
you could still make a kill area.
I know I got an elevator, but I don't think they're allowed to use my elevator.
That'd be hysterical.
I'm not really sure, but it'd be fucking hilarious to see like a couple of guys jam into the elevator and take it up.
Oh, hold on, guys, hold on. Let's get in. Yeah, pardon me, excuse me.
You can just imagine like the elevator music playing as they're going up.
They get to the top and I just cleave them in the head. Next, send the next two.
Yeah,
send the next two. That's all that fits in the elevator.
It's amazing. It's an amazing thought. Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Yeah. Send the next guys up. Right, elevator comes down. It's just filled with blood. They're like, all right, get in.
The elevator's pretty slow. Because
the next guys will be there.
Like, it takes a little while to get down there and a little while to come back up. I did build like an elevator like house. Like, it's got like a little like a pumping station kind of, you know what I mean? Like, it has an enclosure around the elevator with like a door and stuff. So like they'd have to break in the door, I guess.
I want to say like there has to be, because the new system has purges don't just happen. It's you have to put down a treasure pile, and if you put down a treasure pile, then purges will occur to come and steal your treasure. Yeah. So I think they're like there has to be a path to get to the treasure, as I think is what it is.
It's some weird shit though. Like, you know, what if you have a treasure pile and you just build out off of a cliff, and then you let them go to the treasure pile, and then you break the floor, will they all fall down and die? Like,
is that
some Wile E. Coyote shit?
like a Sims thing where you're like, oh yeah, get in the pool, and you take away the like,
yeah,
the
like
ladder.
what happens if mid purge, right, they all rush the pile that's hanging off the cliff by like 6 blocks, and then I destroy the first block, and so it all just falls. Like, does that work? Can I do that? I want to find out.
Could be. Maybe. Sounds like a fun experiment.
And if that doesn't work, what if underneath the floor I've captured a bunch of alligators? and then I drop the floor off, and they don't die, but they just fall into pits of alligators. I'm just saying.
I mean, it sounds like something you could totally do.
You just have like their treasure room is just filled with like animals you've managed to like hurt, like somehow get to chase you in there, and then walled
treasure
in.
pile, and get them in there, turn around, leave.
Like, all right, we have a Scrooge McDuck treasure pile and Jurassic Park. Let the purge commence.
No, what did I notice? Because in restarting playing, even from because I took your advice and I said that like by previous save, which even though you have to connect to the server to play single player, you have to somehow connect online to play single player, but then it doesn't save your progress on the server. And so I thought it did because I was still connecting to the online service to play the single player. But so I was like, I assumed that it just saved the progress. So I didn't, when I switched computers, I didn't move over those data files to save my game.
Right. Remember talking about that? Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, and you were like, just start over. They've done so much. And I was like, all right, you know what? Yeah, that sounds fair. I'll start over. So I did. I started over, and loot's different. Like, loot is so much different than it was. And I guess it has to do with the treasure aspect, that some stuff is now just considered treasure. And so you can like a shrunken head or something like that. It's like, this is treasure.
Yeah.
So you go and you put it in your treasure pile, or I've just been storing it in a just a chest. But I've noticed that what has been dropping a lot of that I wasn't expecting was taxidermied animals.
Oh yeah,
a metric ton of taxidermied animals. So
I've
like
got
every animal.
I've got like a whole thing just so I have my tree fort, right? It's one giant flat top on top of the tree as high as it'll go. And then I had to build like in the center, I had to build like 3 walls. I left one side open.
Okay.
Because up on top of that is where my worship thing for the cannibal god goes.
Yes.
As you do.
As you do.
And so like underneath in that area is where I put my little hide from the sandstorm hut. Like it's just like 4 walls and a door.
Okay.
Because I like the whole open concept, but you need to be able to hide from the sandstorm, right? So I've got my little closet to hide from the sandstorm.
Not exactly. Not anymore. The sandstorm, I think they really defanged. All you need is the medium armor, like the basic medium armor, and that's good enough. And the sandstorms don't affect you anymore.
Well, I'm oftentimes just not wearing armor, so. Anyways, I have my closet, my little bathroom that I hide in.
To be fair, I'm just waving in the wind.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, you don't want to get sand in certain places.
So, but yeah, so underneath there, I got the same thing, like all the taxidermy stuff. I just started like placing it like everywhere. I've got what looks like a goddamn like hunter's lodge. Like it's just covered. And then so you've got the ones you mount, and then the taxidermy ones, like full like statues basically.
Now I know it's an ability in the game. It's a thing that you can you can get points into, and you can actually make the taxidermy stuff yourself. I was just surprised at just how often it was dropping as just loot from anybody, and it's like
apparently lots of people that live in the exiled lands are taxidermists.
a lot of taxidermists, right? And it's like not small taxidermy stuff either. So it's like, oh, I killed that guy. What has he got on him? A 12-foot crocodile. Great.
I'm telling you, dude, I should get a picture of it. Like I had like it looks like a Jumanji hunter's like lodge. Like it's crazy. Because every time I get one of those, I just find another spot to put it up. I've got like 30 mounted heads of varying types, and like 15 different like taxidermy things all stacked around. I'm the same way.
Like every taxidermy thing I've found, and every like stuffed head, it's like that goes on the wall there, that's on there, and it's just like it's fleshing out like a bedroom area. It's fleshing it out, and it's like that's kind of cool. I do like that, but it's just weird.
I added
how much
the banners. You get the banners, and then like the skull, like
Yep.
What are they called? Like the skull wind chimes, basically.
Yep.
Right. So every time I get one of those, I put it up around my worship pit to Yogg. So there's just a shit ton of them.
It's like, they're basically like, you get so many just decoration items from anything you kill.
That's a little wild, honestly. The amount that it like hands out.
It hasn't been that long since I played Conan Exiles. Like I was shocked. I was like, I think it was certainly before
They
the
changed a
new
lot.
Age of War, I think.
They did. They definitely like overhauled a lot of stuff. And I
Yeah.
will say, even though I have problems with the UI, like it probably is technically better than the last time I did it, especially considering how much is in there. Because they also just keep like every DLC adds more shit to there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I understand that it's like a problem, kind of. There's not an easy solution to,
No.
but they definitely need to do something because it's pretty rough. It's pretty rough to try and actually use it, especially as a newer player.
Especially as a new player.
I think if you're already established, then it probably doesn't matter, and you just whatever you need to click, you click because you already have the prerequisites anyways. But when you're first starting a new character in that monstrosity, like it's really hard to figure out, what thing you need.
Okay, the time that I played before was in May of 2023. That was like when I finished up the last round of Conan that I played was then, and I just started playing again just this past month.
Almost
just earlier this month.
Close to a year?
So almost a year, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like when I played then, all that stuff wasn't dropping, and now it's all dropping. And it's like it's a cool shift. It's a cool change.
For sure.
Also, more armor is dropping. Just more better armor is dropping as well.
There's more stuff in general.
Just more stuff. Yeah. Just more useful stuff. Just more useful loot. So I've been like, okay. But yeah, like you kill somebody and you get like, oh, I have this gazelle that I taxidermied.
Yeah. Dude, a lot of them have gazelle heads for some reason. I don't know why. But I mean, there's a ton of people walking around with like mounted gazelle heads.
Yeah, it's so cultured. These people are so cultured. Gotta appreciate them. You're like, I thought you were just a cannibal, but apparently you
also hide a mounted gazelle head up your ass.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that makes you cultured.
Yeah, you were carrying it. That's the weirdest part.
Where else would you put it?
You were carrying it, but it wasn't visible. That's what I'm trying to point out here.
That's right, yeah. Be like, you looked pretty naked to me. I don't know where you were hiding a creature. But MMOs do that though. MMOs are notorious for that. So I've told you about the weirdest drop I've ever had, right?
Probably. I don't remember off the top of my head.
I was playing Shroud of the Avatar, which is not a popular game, and it's not really that great either. It has plenty of issues. But even for MMOs, it's like, yeah, it's got a lot of weird issues. But one system that it had was anything, and I really like this one, is that anything that somebody sold to a vendor, like anything that you sold to a vendor, ended up on a drop list, so someone else in the world could acquire it.
Oh, okay.
So,
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, so if you like made a sword, you made like a good sword, and you attached your name to it, and you just sold it to a vendor instead of like the auction system, because the auction system was actually kind of weird. You had to buy a house, you had to buy a property, then you had to get like a store for your house, and so people would come to your house and buy your stuff, and there wasn't like an overall auction house. So if you wanted to go searching for something, you really had to go searching for something. You had to go from house to house to house to basically see what people were selling. But if you just vendored it, then it ended up on a drop list. And so you would kill something, and suddenly you get the sword, and it's like the sword is, and it would say the player that made the sword.
Right.
And it's like, that's cool. And then you could actually run into that player and be like, holy shit, I had your shit. Like,
you have my trash.
Yeah. And it's a cool thing, except for if someone is just trying to like level up through the crafting system, they could just make whatever. And when you make something new, you get a bunch of experience for it. So it behooves you to basically make everything that you can that's new, obviously. And so I was fighting in this like, random area. I killed something basic. It was just like a boar or something like that. And what dropped was a 2-story house.
Wizard of Oz.
And it was like, and the way Shroud works is basically their housing system is you buy the plot, and then you can put whatever house you want on that plot. But you bought the plot, and then you pay taxes on the plot, and so the house was separate than the plot itself. And so I just found it weird that it's like, so what dropped was, yes, a 2-story like row home or something like that. And I'm like, great, okay, yes.
So that was in the boar's back pocket.
Right. I was like, that is the silliest thing I think I've ever got to drop in a video game.
That is pretty ridiculous.
But a fantastic system though. But a system that is like that I will go up and down and say, like, no, this is a great thing. If you sell something to a vendor, it like, you know, if you sell crafted items to a vendor, or just any item to a vendor, it will end up in somebody's drop list from killing things. I'm like, that is a fantastic idea. That is leaning into the idea that the loot that you pick up from a creature doesn't have to make sense. You know, it's like, it's just leaning right into that. Saying like, how did this Murloc end up with a recipe for?
So I do think it would almost be cooler though if it, in some ways, if it did make sense. Obviously, you wouldn't get the shock factor of a 2-story house dropping from a boar.
No,
but it would kind of be cool if someone did a system like that, but actually like was like, this enemy type uses a slashing weapon, so these slashing weapons have been vendored, so drop one of you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, make it a little more
make it actually like type wise kind of bound.
Yeah.
Now maybe a wizard could drop a 2-story house because fuck it, right? Right?
Yeah,
like that could work.
Mm-hmm.
But it would probably be
like stuff that drops off of animals should be a little
like
more
rings
animal
or necklaces. They swallowed that
Yeah.
shit or something, you know?
Yeah,
like it's something that would like make a little more sense.
But I just love that idea. I just love that idea.
But yeah, no, it is a cool idea.
Yeah, I was like, and I haven't seen any other game do that. Maybe for that, I don't even know if it's for that reason, but it's like I haven't seen any game do that. But in Shroud of the Avatar, you could also like make your own book. You could also write your own book and put it in the world. And so what people would do also is they would be like, I have an event going on, so I'm going to make up a whole bunch of like flyers in game for this event, and then I'm going to sell them to the vendor. So you would kill something and you would just pick up like, hey, we normally do like, you know, like if they did that in Secret World, we'd make a whole bunch of these pamphlets for our show and we would drop them, and it'd be like someone would kill something and all of a sudden get like 0 point report Thursday nights, you know.
Right.
And again, it's like, that's such a interesting idea. It's such an interesting idea. I love it. I love that concept of just that anything could drop, just anything. But mostly it's stuff that is made. It's not just a drop list. It's a drop list that's created by players too. Like that interaction. And so it makes me wonder.
Anyone can do it. Even anyone.
Yeah.
That's a Nestle Crunch commercial.
So they're making the Dune game. They specifically said it's an MMO. So
yeah.
And so to what extent, you know, is it going to be like New World? Is it going to be, because New World is also sort of a survival MMO system. Like, is it going to be like that? Is it going to be? I guess we'll have to find out. Really,
I don't know. We
really don't know exactly how it's going to line up one particular way or another.
No, I'm just referring to the New World part. Like, is it really survival?
I mean, it's not really. It's survival in that, like, you need, you know, I need a whole bunch of wood, and I need a whole bunch.
Yeah.
It focuses on the crafting
stuff, but I don't.
But not survival as in like you need to eat, you need to drink.
Yeah. Like,
not like
Dune,
that. But
Dune definitely is going to have like, hey, you need water. Or
Dune
blood,
absolutely is going to have that. Yeah, that resource.
Like, you're gonna fucking die.
Yeah. Sort of like Conan Exiles, but in Conan Exiles, you very quickly get away from that. Like finding water and finding food is, you know, becomes trivial.
It's not super difficult, which I mean, I think is fairly a good thing in that system, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you still can, but you can screw it up. You can just not be paying attention and be like, oh shit.
Oh shit. Yeah, oh shit, I'm starving. Or you could die somewhere and then respawn at your bedroll completely naked and not have any food or drink on you.
Yeah.
And then corpse spawn back. I don't even know.
You would do what I did multiple times in the same stream is you're adventuring in the mountains, in the ice areas, in the volcano snow bullshit, and then you make a bedroll there, and then you go all the way back to your base and you're doing some shit, and you accidentally hit alt and backwards roll off your tree fort to your death and respawn to your goddamn bedroll naked in the goddamn mountains. And have to run across the entire fucking map to get back to your base.
Damn it.
Only to climb up, get your shit from your dead body on the ground, climb up, forget to interact with your bed again, start fucking around with shit, and again backwards roll off your tree fort and spawn at the fucking volcano within the span of like 20 minutes.
And I mean, you can turn off. There is a setting to turn off the if you're playing on your own server or whatnot, or solo, you can turn off the what happens on death. You could say,
You
either
can make it
do
so
it the way the
just
game
keep it.
is, or just just respawn me.
I tend to play like normal, like whatever the normal settings are.
Yeah, normal settings.
This is another area where like you can get kind of like the tabletop shit. You can get a little too power creepy. And then it starts to lose value. Like you don't feel like you're like, oh well, I can just make everything happen 50 times faster and make myself invincible. And then why am I playing this game again? Like, you sort of lose motivation. So like, I try and like not to do that shit. But
right, like actually, when I played, I found that the experience that you get from just surviving, like a background tick of experience just by not doing anything, was a little too high for my liking. Like I would just be like all of a sudden just sitting there for a while. I'd go to the bathroom, come back, and it's like you're level 2 now, or you're
and you disconnected.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Bye.
Oh, you're back.
Oh, there you are. You said level 2, and then you disappeared.
Oh no, I kept hearing you guys, so it must have just been me.
Okay.
But like you would I'd go to the bathroom, come back, and I'm like level 3, and it's like, what? I didn't do anything. I didn't.
Well, you continued to survive, see, so that was
that's the point. Yeah, it's sort of like you just get a background survival tick, and so I was like, no, I'm gonna take that and lower that. I'm gonna take that and shove that all the way down to the bottom. Just because it's like I feel like I need to do something in order to gain the experience.
Yeah.
Crafting, chopping down trees, killing things. Just getting it just by standing around didn't feel that worthwhile. But yeah, it's fun. Also, in playing New World, which I've also done recently, it's very easy to tell what Scrivenomancer wrote for New World.
Yeah, right?
I've been reading the things, and it's just like, okay, some basic stuff there, some basic stuff there, and a dancing plague of people dying, madness, okay. Yeah, that's Scriv. That's got Scriv's handiwork written all over it. I was like, All right. So, we can talk about one other thing, but I feel like at this point it's a little late, and it would be for Vomer's announcement, and they weren't able to join us tonight, so I don't feel like I'd be doing it justice if I brought it up now, or I'd be talking about it.
Yeah.
So,
maybe we can cover that more in depth on the next one.
Yeah, and even have Vomer on, maybe.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
I don't mind. I like having guests. Guests are always fun. But anyway, I think we're good. Anything else?
No, I mean, not really.
That's pretty much it for now.
Covered most of the Dune stuff. That's
everything I had. We had
exploding.
a nice conversation with Brandon.
Yeah, we had a great conversation with Brandon. And we kind of already talked about my new run in there somewhere.
In there somewhere, right? Your new run of the Lights Out run.
Which I will real quick. I will say, when I loaded in the game today, and this is a different account, different copy of the game, I was freaking out because I was like, "Holy shit! Have I been playing the Lights Out too much?" Because Agartha looks bright as fuck. Like I was like, "There's no way this is how it normally looks. Like something looks wrong." And I was like, "Is my eyes just gotten adjusted so much to playing the dark one that like everything just seems super bright now?" No. Somehow, so Steam will take its settings from the last Funcom client that logged in.
Okay.
And which I have that character on there, but somehow the mod must set a setting. It set the light effects down to 0. The light
like
slider.
your
like if you literally go to settings, like
okay.
menu settings, video options,
okay,
advanced, lighting detail was all the way down to 0.
Okay.
So I think it must be something that the mod does on my other client, but it saved that setting to like where the Steam copy reads stuff from. So when I loaded in, my lighting detail was 0, but that just means like everything is set at like, I guess, no detail, just max bloom or something. Like there's no gradation, right? There's no like shadow. It's just everything's lit full.
Was it lighting, lighting like, detail? I was like, let me put that down.
Fucking Agartha's bright ass yellow. Like, did playing Lights Out fuck with my eyes? No, the mod just fucked with my client.
Oh my gosh, it does. Yes. I just turned my lighting detail down to 0.
You want to check that just so people see what the hell I'm talking about?
Yeah, no, totally.
It's, settings, second from the bottom, video, and then advanced. So you take lighting detail.
Take
it from 4 to 0 and hit apply. And so if you resume, that's what I loaded into today. It was like, oh my god,
it's so bright.
I was like, no. Did playing the game in the dark really fuck with me? Is this how Agartha normally looks? And I was walking around like, this does not seem right.
Like, this can't be. Out. This can't be right.
So I went to look at my settings and figured out like, oh, okay, it's the lighting. Like somehow the mod messed with the lighting detail and that carried over.
Like out here is normal.
Yeah, there looks relatively. I don't know. In here in
but when you change it, especially in the center, it's super bright in the center.
Yeah.
And so like once you put it back, right, you'll see like shadowing and stuff. Like it actually doesn't look like the fucking sun is sitting in the center there.
That's amazing.
But yeah, that totally like I started this up like right before we started the show, and like it totally fucked with me in my head for a little bit. I was like, I just thought this was my eyes fucking with me, and not the game, you know.
Let me turn all my back on.
But
actually, I had all mine set to 3.
I still need to like edit it and stuff and get it out there, but I will have a new video coming out probably over the weekend or early next week of a lava game in the dark.
Very nice. Okay, champion. You got it. Of course you did.
Yeah. Well, come on. What kind of comment is that?
Yeah. Oh, you completed lava game?
Did you do the achievement?
Did you get it? Of course you did. Of course you did. Yeah. What am I saying?
Come on. It did take a little bit longer than I thought it would, though not as long as the side scroller one. That one is still fucking like doing trigonometry in your head to figure out. The biggest problem. The single biggest problem.
What I think is one of the cooler ones.
that one is the most difficult for sure.
That and
Trying to
top
like figure
down.
out a jump.
Top down was also really cool too.
Like top down looks cool, but it's like way easier. You can see what you're going.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
problem with side scrollers, like especially like the second to last jump, is like, how do you jump to the tires you can't see on a plane you can't judge?
Mm-hmm.
So like using the mini map, lining up the feet, like trying to like get it so like, okay, I'm gonna jump this way, and I'm gonna land on a tire this wide somehow. like that shit was so difficult. I had that same jump was the problem, by the way. The problem was I was using a burning wrath
Mm-hmm.
from Hammer to like, because
Okay.
it glows for a bit like on its own, and like light up the area, but it doesn't light up. Nothing lights up far enough. I couldn't see the tire I was jumping to, so I was just jumping into a pitch black abyss, hoping I land on that little rubber tire. So it was a very similar problem to the sideways one. The difference is I got to face the actual direction, right? Like I still had to make I made a map marker on the mini map and pointed my little arrow of your guy on the mini map at the dot to try and line up the jump. But it quite literally was a jump in the dark, like, because I couldn't see that far. But it kind of looks neat because as I'm like jumping around on the cars and stuff, like the hammer energy is like pulsing and kind of like lighting up the cars like in like a fire glow.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So
is there any sprint? Do you have a sprint on that character that actually creates light around you? Like you've got right now, you've got the
No, I don't. I thought
effect.
about it. Right now my character does have the sick kicks, like the light up sneakers.
Yeah.
I've got the anniversary like pants and jacket that have the glowy hexagons.
Yes.
Honeycombs. I got the infernal gloves because the red shards glow. And I have the ice, like the winter chest and mask, because the chest has like a Iron Man looking blue circle, and then the mask has like some glowy dots. So just got like some random crap that glows, so I can kind of see the character. I debated spending the $10 on the Ghost Runner sprint. I still might at some point.
Okay.
Because you've seen Ghost Runner, right?
No, which one's that? Off the top of my head.
Hold on, I have it on my character. Hold on, or not on it right now, but I can grab it. Where is that's Shocking Steps? Here we go, Ghost Runner.
Oh, okay. So it's like Ghost Rider. Okay.
You can even through the bunny head, you can kind of see the skull.
Yeah.
It's basically like the Sasquatch skull, just like green and like see-through.
Okay.
And then you have like this green fire. So like I kind of thought that might be cool in the dark, right? Because you'd see like especially because that character doesn't have a bunny head.
Okay.
Right? Well, here, look. We'll do the rare removal of the bunny head.
Okay.
Right, so like in the dark, that would probably look really cool, like even cooler, right? Because everything else is black, and it should light up like because everything is literally black. Like shit like this looks way cool because it's just like neon. Also, you know when you have those missions where there's the tracking initializes and the little blue shit glows on the ground?
Yeah.
That shit's awesome. Because there's no other textures. It's just blue blinking lights. You can actually follow it.
It makes it super useful. Yeah.
Yeah. It really does.
That's amazing.
So I might pick up that one at some point, but I also, I'm kind of, the main reason I didn't, other than it's going to cost me like $10 to go get, but the main reason I didn't so far is I kind of didn't want to make things like too easy.
Yeah.
I mean, like if the things are too bright, or if the thing I have emits like way too much light,
Sort of defeats the purpose of doing it in the dark in the first place.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
will say the mining I tested before I started the run. I did test on another character, the mining lamp, and that does work. So, and I already found a mission I basically can't do until I get the mining lamp. I can't do hell and back because anything that you light up with your weapon, right? That's like bouncing off the geometry, but it doesn't light up the texture.
Yeah.
Right? So like I can't read the hell and back signs on the floor. I can't see them.
Yeah.
Like even if I smack the ground with abilities and it lights up the room, it doesn't light up the actual texture that lets you see what symbol is what, right?
If you hold the mouse over it, does a little pop-up come up or no?
I do see the interact prompts with the names,
Yeah.
but the guide doesn't have names. It just has numbers on the picture. I could probably spend some time on a different character that has lighting, like translating it and writing down which names. But honestly, it's probably better just to come back with the mining lamp. And for those specific things where you need to see like a texture, just have the headlamp and use the headlamp just for texture reading. Right?
Interesting way to do it. Yeah.
Because that does work. I did test that. Like the headlamp works like you would expect the headlamp to work. It's just that the weapon effects aren't lamp effects. Like they spread out across the geometry, and that acts as like sort of like a sonar or radar kind of imaging, right? Like you just whoop, 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 and you can see it bounce off the edges, but it doesn't light up the actual texture.
No, it's a topographical, I guess.
Yeah. So I did discover that, but I don't think you actually get a headlamp until Blue Mountain.
Yeah,
I think that's your first headlamp.
Yeah,
or is there one in
the mine?
Yeah, no, it would be the mine.
I think it's the mine in Blue Mountain. I'm pretty sure. But I mean, it's not a big deal. Like I can do other stuff up until that point, and then come back to that mission. Assuming I'm still debating whether this is like a casual run or like I'm in 100% the zones. I'm not really sure yet. I'm just kind of screwing around, advancing the story. The cinematics have been kind of interesting.
I watched a bit of one where you were talking to Henry Hawthorne.
And you can see the reflection of his glasses.
No, it was you're talking to Andy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so in the cinematics you can tell that they've spotlit the cinematics in certain cases because those spotlights stay.
Mm-hmm.
Like it'll be completely black, but on Andy there was like a kind of a spotlight. And then in the part where you talk to, or where you go and you hide, and Beaumont and Cassie are talking, that shit was like pitch black at first, and then they go over by the maps, and all of a sudden they're lit from like a certain angle. Okay. So like they've actually done lighting in the cinematics in certain spaces to like light the characters a certain way, and those particular
makes
things
sense.
stay. Yeah. So like the normal lighting in the level is turned off, but it doesn't turn off. Like I think if you saw the thumbnail even from like my first thumbnail for the first episode, looking out over Kingsmouth, you could see like the lights above the doorways were on, because those are like individual point lights and not part of like the volume lighting or something. So like in Kingsmouth, it's like pitch black except for like this little cone of light from the lamp above the door.
That's cool.
On like every door.
Cool. Yeah.
So yeah, it's a neat effect where it's not just like. So I think it would be awful to from a viewing experience if it was just solid black all the time.
So like if you come in here to Agartha, like are these like little lanterns that go on the like
those
you
are
see
super
these
useful.
Lanterns. Yeah.
I can see how to get up. Yeah, those are actually useful as fuck. It's like landing lights for a plane. Like, and the underside actually looks very sparkly. If you look underneath Agartha, like have you ever been under like in the center and look up?
I don't think so. Oh yes. I know what you're talking about. Yes, that part.
Yeah, so that shit looks pretty cool.
I thought you meant like underneath the actual like ramps themselves, and I was like,
Oh no, I just meant under the
No, yeah.
the main section. It has
Under
like
the-
those
yeah.
dangly stuff. Like that actually looks pretty neat.
the dripping
I will say,
big things.
probably one of the hardest things of the run was getting out of Zern's room.
Okay.
Yeah, so when you come out of the
You're playing as
tutorial?
Illuminati. Okay.
Yeah, when you come out of
Yeah.
the tutorial, you don't have weapons anymore because you only had
Mhm.
weapons in the tutorial dream.
Right.
You had to go
yes.
get your weapons from the person, which means I had no way to make any visual effect to see the ground. I could not fucking find my way out of that room for a little
Like,
bit. I was trying to use the mini map and like it wasn't like I could not figure out where the fuck to go. Just
Wasn't
bouncing
working?
around in the dark. And literally had nothing. Like your character has nothing at that point. Like zero. There's nothing I could do. Just stumble around trying to find the fucking door. And then once I was out in the main Lumi area, I somehow very luckily found the training room because I'm pretty sure I've gotten lost trying to find the training room in the Lumi base with the lights on.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's happened before. Like, where
Mhm.
the fuck is this door? So somehow I found that pretty quickly, and then once I had the weapons, I was able to at least smash razor shards and get like kind of like an AOE visual around me for a split second. But I eventually upgraded to ground pound. Ground pound's a pretty cool little
Light maker.
whoop
Yeah.
that you can just spam because it's the basic. And then Burning Wrath is the one that pulses. Like you cast it once and it pulses for like 5 seconds or something.
Yeah.
And it stays on you as you run. So that was the one I used for Lava Game. That one's actually really useful because I can just cast it, run a few feet, run for 5 seconds, cast it again, keep running. It's just constantly it's like whooping out the whole time. So that was pretty cool.
Nice.
But yeah, this just happened because of the Death Race run where I dropped the torch and was using the weapon as like a sonar. I was spamming chaos abilities and noticed I could figure out my way out of the like hole
And you're
I was
like,
stuck in.
can I do this for the entire game?
And then I was like, oh, that'd be sweet. And I know Fox had done some stuff with like photo mode and like lighting, I think, before.
Mhm.
So I was like, hey, I hit him up. What do you think about this? And yeah. Pretty cool. I'm super happy with it so far.
Yeah,
It's
no,
been
and
pretty fun.
yeah, some of the screenshots that you have or some of the thumbnails that you have look really cool.
Yeah, it's just you know what was really funny is my character I made in the dark because I had the mod and I went to make the new character and the character creation screen had the lights out. So
Yeah.
like I couldn't see shit. I was like, yep, I think this looks fine. Next.
They're like, sure, yeah.
And then turns out, because in some of the cinematics, they have this spotlighting. Turns out it's a female character. It's got like the two-tone blue hair. It's got like green glowing eyes. Like it somehow accidentally made like the perfect like glow-in-the-dark night character randomly. Because I didn't pick the eye color. The hair
you
color.
got dressed in the dark.
I literally got dressed in the dark,
Yeah.
made a face in the dark, and it actually turned out really cool. So, yeah. I'm
very cool.
Pretty happy to have something else to fiddle around with.
It's a fun idea. For sure. All right. I'm losing steam at this point.
Yeah, I know. It's like it's 101. Not as cool as 1111, but it's 101.
It's close. 111. It's getting there. 10 minutes ago. Anyway, agents, this has been the 0 Point Report, strain 90-ETT. You can catch us recording live Thursday nights when we can around 9 p.m. Eastern time. I put a real time at 9 p.m. this time, and we made it to like 9:20 something.
It was close.
Here on the 0 Point Report Twitch channel, where you can also join us and chat with us while we do the show live, or download our show wherever podcasts are found so you can listen to us on the go. Jimmy, where can we find you online?
You can find me on Linktree/Jimmy the Rabbit.
Cool. Two-Ton Waffle, how about yourself? You've been very busy creating all kinds of new stuff.
Yeah, I've been doing a little things here and there, little projects. You can find me at twotonwaffle.com. That's my place to go to. Has all my links.
twotonwaffle.edu.
Yep.
And it's one of my favorite jokes. And I'm Ocho. You can find me on Twitch, Blue Sky, and Mastodon. Is that what I currently have? I haven't used Mastodon in a while. All links also at linktree/BigMikeyOcho. You can get in touch with us by engaging with the show on Twitter at 0 Point Report, checking out previous shows on our YouTube channel, and joining us on our Discord server, both named the 0 Point Report. So from all of us here at the 0 Point Report, I want to thank you for tuning in and wish you all the best from the secret world. Have a great night, everybody, and we'll catch you next time. Bye. Bye, Scratch.